Do we want to try it? Chicken waffles right now.
Okay. Are we doing this all together now?
We should.
So this is what is this is chicken and waffles taffy?
It's saltwater taffy, and the flavor is
Chicken and
fried
wa-
chicken and waffles.
Is there chicken waffles and maple syrup?
Well, like the syrup, I think is part of the waffle experience. So
Why? I usually put jam on my waffles. So
Oh, dude, me too. Peanut butter
Really?
and jam.
I haven't tried peanut
And
butter.
sometimes bananas.
all right, we doing this?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Hold on. I'm not ready.
Wait.
God, hurry up,
It's my first time.
You think
I
you
just
figured
that's
it
why
out?
I just gave you a quarter.
Okay, it smells real mapley.
Yeah. Ready?
Ready? One,
Chin.
2, 3.
Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin, and next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
And as always, we're joined by our producer, Richard.
Ahoy hoy.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC comics and movies while fielding questions from listeners like you. While I took a holiday, I went to Florence. There's this cafe on the banks of the Arno. Every fine evening, I'd sit there and order a Fernet Branca.
A Fernet Branca.
Fernet Branca.
I love that every time you giggle when I say ahoy hoy.
I don't know why I find it funny. I
'cause
think
it's so
Do you
goofy.
know what it is? It's because I'm waiting for you to not say it. And then when you do, it's like a nervous release of laughter. It's I'm like, what's he going to do? But most of the time you just say that.
I know, but now that I've done it weird once,
You did it weird once, and now I'm like, that's what I'm waiting for? I think that's what it is.
I know. I did get to explain that yesterday because we played 3 hours at my house of Trivial Pursuit,
Oh, wow.
and the question of who created the telephone came up, and so obviously the conversation of
Right.
ahoy hoy came up.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. So we saw Justice League last night.
We did.
Yeah,
Guys, we saw Justice League.
Last night.
Yeah. I can't believe that I had to like wait a couple of days to go see it. It was killing me. It was driving me insane.
some of us didn't see it last night.
Yes. Yeah. But Colin and I did, and I think we're
And that's what counts.
We're the most polar opposite in terms of our little cast here.
Yeah, Richard, you're kind of like that beautiful, healthy little medium for us, right?
That's why we work, boys.
That's right.
It's the trifecta of I don't give a fuck, Reed gives too many fucks, and you know the word fuck.
I mean, so I think what we should do is just like delve into it, but we'll do maybe like a little bit sort of spoiler free, just sort of general impressions,
yeah.
stuff about the movie, and then we'll give you, the listeners, fair warning, and an aggressive sound effect, or not. I'm
not your monkey.
Not to throw you under the bus. And then
I've never done an aggressive sound effect on this.
It'll just be the
podcast.
softest, saddest sound effect, like
and then we'll go into the spoiler version of talking about Justice League. So
it's like a quiet fart.
Yeah.
yeah.
And the real question is it real or fake?
Yeah, so listen
No.
for the ambiguously real quiet fart, and that will be your warning that spoilers are ahead.
Okay.
So, Justice League. I know if I start talking,
You won't stop.
I won't stop. So, Colin, why don't you kick us off with spoiler-free? What did you think of Justice League?
When Aquaman walks out of the waters,
You got hard as a rock?
no, sorry. When he leaves this bar,
Just me then?
and
No,
he's
not
like
just you.
he's like swigging down a bottle of whiskey to
Yeah.
Icky Thump by the White Stripes.
And smashes it on the ground.
Honest to fuck, all I wanted to do was like get out of my seat and just like power walk out of a movie theater like badass also for some reason.
But then you didn't because you also wanted to see it.
But I still wanted to see
Yeah,
the rest of the
yeah,
movie. So I was like, but I wanted
Why would you put that in the middle of
I
the
know.
film?
We're all
I
conflicted.
wanted to do something like
That should
really
be the post-credit
awesome.
scene.
Yeah.
Everyone can walk out that way.
I like that.
It was really cool. I liked that they saved Gary Clark Jr.'s "Come Together," covered by the
yeah.
Beatles,
Yeah.
until till the credits, which was perfect. That's where it belonged.
Yeah.
I
I think those are the important points. Aquaman drank whiskey, and there was a song during the credits.
Yep.
What else did you think of it?
Well, this whole like no spoilers thing is tough because like,
Well, no, I mean, like, so the no spoilers is just generally.
just go watch the fucking movie.
There's some stuff
Do
you
you
can
not
say.
know what a podcast is about?
So here, let me go then.
You go.
Okay. So
We would love for you to go.
I felt like it was definitely rushed.
Yeah.
Yes. It felt like it was definitely rushed.
Wait, did you see it?
It's possible that I did.
What?
Oh,
How
really?
did you? When did you?
I threw nefarious
Yeah,
means.
you saw it in a totally legal.
Yes,
way. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It felt rushed to me.
Wait, I noticed that your glasses were different on Sunday.
Oh yeah, you do have different
Were
glasses
you wearing
on.
spy glasses on Sunday?
Well, no, those were just the 3D glasses.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It was 3D.
Okay, so you thought it felt a little bit.
For
rushed.
me-
it was a 2-hour runtime, which is the shortest of the DC.
but that's 2
movies.
hours including credits.
Yes.
So it was closer to like an hour 40. Like
Yeah, hour 50.
it was. It for me. What the biggest issue I found was that like each character's introduction was such a small vignette that you barely got an idea of who this person was. Wonder Woman, sure, you got a movie, so it didn't matter. But
Sure.
like Aquaman, like you got bits of his history kind of throughout it.
Yeah, but he has a movie coming up.
He does
Well-
for sure, but I mean you can't take that in consideration when you're looking at this.
Well, actually, it's funny that you guys bring up those points because Jason Momoa was sort of asked about this because it's sort of well known that a lot of Aquaman footage was cut
yeah.
from the film, and Jason Momoa said, like, yeah, we filmed all sorts of stuff about like Atlantis and where he thinks he doesn't fit, and stuff with the Vulko, which is Willem Dafoe's character. They filmed all sorts of Atlantis stuff that didn't make it in the movie, and Jason Momoa said, you know, at the end of the day, there's an Aquaman film coming. This was the Justice League movie. It was more important to get to that.
And I get that. If they had done a big delve into each character, it would have been too much and it wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah.
And I'll get into kind of where I thought that it was rushed because there's
Yeah.
definitely a point where you're just like, whoa, we're here already?
Yeah.
And like, I think that's where your issues was. Like, for me, like, I thought, like, Cyborg is awesome.
Yes, totally.
I don't really have a lot to say about him,
Yeah.
but Cyborg is awesome. If we got a really cool, like, dirty, like, fucking, like, crime fighting movie from him, I'd be very much into that with,
Yeah.
like, high tech, but, like,
Yeah. I really liked Ray
grimy.
Fisher. I thought he played it really well.
really, really good. I thought that, like, sort of, like, very, like, monotone, like, performance, doing these amazing things was really cool. I love like how Aquaman doesn't take Batman seriously, which is a nice dynamic.
Yeah.
Because you find that like Superman's the whole like I'm holier than thou, and everybody else is just like, whoa, Batman, like this, you're being kind of crazy. But Aquaman just doesn't take anything he says seriously, and I find that that dynamic is really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that was maybe one of the things they highlighted in those trailers too. There's a little bit of like the Batman Aquaman banter made it into that stuff. The whole like dress like a bat,
Yeah,
dig it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that stuff is really cool. I'll
Yeah.
say one last thing as sort of my overall opinion about the movie.
Yeah.
Justice League was a really great Flash movie.
Yeah. There's lots of really, really good Flash stuff in there.
That's, I think, the best part of the movie to me is Flash.
Right. You like Ezra Miller.
And it worked as a great Flash origin movie. I don't think you need a Flash origin movie now.
No, totally.
You want to go into it?
Well,
I mean, your opinion.
I'll give my like
Can
general.
I just step in real
Yeah,
quick?
please.
God, I hate Superman.
Yeah.
Like, straight up, I'm done. Like, nah. I'm not into Superman.
See, okay, that's interesting. I want to come back to that because this is a different Superman than we've seen in the DCEU so far.
Definitely.
So I definitely want to come back to that because I think that's interesting.
We've all got some opinions.
Like,
I think.
I don't give a fuck. He's a zombie, whatever. But like,
Whoa.
I'm done with Superman.
We didn't have the fart.
I'll cut this out.
I mean, that's only a little bit of a spoiler.
Yes.
Like, we all know that Superman's in this movie.
Yes, he's coming back. You can say zombie.
Yeah, exactly. So, so my general opinion on this, I am guilty of having. I didn't read.
You're a
full
DC
reviews.
fanboy?
Oh no, I'm also I'm totally a DC fanboy. I didn't read reviews really. I didn't go too deep into the nitty gritty of what people liked or didn't like about it because I just wanted to go.
Once it came out, you just kind of pulled out.
But I did. I was on Twitter. I did see opinions. I did kind of see some stuff. And leading,
you also write for some publications, so you kind of have no choice.
Yeah. So I was nervous going in because the same thing happened to me during Batman v Superman, and when I saw that the first time, I didn't like it
because it taints your opinion, right?
And then I saw it the second time, and I was easier on it. And then the Ultimate Edition, I actually really like, but like that took time. Like I had to like warm up to that movie, and I was worried that Justice League was going to be the same way. What I'll say on the very general scale, the criticisms that you've seen from critics about, the plot seeming thin or like the characters kind of rushed or, stuff that even we've brought up so far.
Yeah.
Those are valid and true. And stuff that you've seen the fans complain about, in terms of characterization or the tone of the film or, being able to detect the shift in like the directorial style. That's also true and valid. But for me, I didn't care. I know it's in there. I won't deny those criticisms. They're totally valid, but I just didn't give a shit. I was sitting in that theater with the biggest like shit-eating grin on my face because I've waited 20 years for a Justice League movie. I've said this to a couple of people leading up to this, but Batman and Robin came out in 1997 or 96, 97, I think. And
it's funny those first 10 years of your life, you just didn't give a shit about the Justice League.
Well, but I mean, there's pre-me caring and then,
okay.
But what I mean is that movie came out and there's a line in that movie where he says like, this is why Superman works alone. And I thought that Superman was going to show up in that movie.
Yeah.
And basically since then, I've been like waiting for this kind of big sort of DC crossover universe sort of thing. So I've literally been waiting 2 decades for a Justice League movie. And despite its flaws, and they are there, and I do recognize them, I was like the like kid in me was like so happy and so excited. I was like shaking in my seat just watching them all on screen. Wow. So what I will say, my general short version review is this movie standing on its own is a really great time. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun. It's easy to jump into, and it's awesome to see them together. And I think they play well off each other. In the context of the wider DCEU, some of that stuff gets a little more problematic, but just if you were just to pick that movie up without seeing anything else, which is actually kind of how Colin went in.
Absolutely.
So I'd be interested to see, more generally how you felt about it. But I think it's a great, just like standalone film, which is kind of weird for the team movie, but I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also you kind of got lucky because also today is Dr. DC's birthday.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I guess this will come out the day after, but yes.
Oh, okay. So,
but yeah,
today meaning yesterday.
This was my
to yesterday.
Yes,
this was my birthday gift.
It's weird that 30 sounds like that.
Sorry.
Damn it. Sorry. Son of a bitch. Yeah, that was my 30th birthday.
We did
gift.
do the soft fart.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I finally got a Justice League movie. I couldn't be happier about it. Yeah. So let's.
Do you want to start like going through the actual movie and
just
start talking about bits and pieces?
Yeah,
so because I one of the things I really enjoyed was it opened with that sort of like fun Superman phone video of like with those kids.
Yeah. So it opens with like cell phone. Well, are we getting into spoiler territory? Do we just want to go?
Yeah. Let's go full in now. Okay. I think.
Wait.
This has been your warning for spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Alert.
All right, here we go. So yeah, the movie opens with this like cell phone footage.
I love that.
Superman. It's like kids asking him questions, and it's Superman the way we kind of haven't seen him in the DCEU, where he's very like approachable.
And it's a little sad the way it ends too.
Yeah. So they like basically,
Because they're like, "What's your favorite thing about Earth?" And he just kind of like has that look off
Kind
into
of
the
looks off
and smiles,
and then it cuts away.
and then you go basically like, "Oh, Superman's dead."
Yeah, you cut to the real world. Superman's dead.
Batman's interrogating a
You
fucking
guys missed like a
motherfucker.
hugely important part in that scene.
Okay.
When the little kid's like, it's for our podcast.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yep. It was right there. As soon as that happened, I was like, shit.
That was right. That
You weren't
was
supposed to give
was
Dr.
our-
DC and myself up.
that was our cinematic debut. But
So good, though.
But yeah, so then we come back to the real world where Superman is dead, and we're getting, and Batman is
Interrogating
being Batman,
motherfuckers, yeah.
and like right away out of the gate, we get a parademon. Like in that first Batman scene, it starts with just him and like a robber, and
Yeah.
he's right away he gets into it with a parademon and like fights him, and
The thing disintegrates.
yeah, and he immediately is kind of off on his quest to recruit.
Well, I think
and
his
unite
first
the
line
League.
right after that is "Assemble the team."
Yeah, yeah. He's got Alfred on the line. And he's like, we've got to move, basically. And then from there, we're following.
Superman's funeral.
Yep, and we're following both Batman and Diana as they recruit. They're both working together. So Batman goes for Flash. Diana tries to go for Cyborg.
But
who's
you
kind
get
of
that-
walled himself off from society because he doesn't know what he is or where he fits.
You move past that awesome Wonder Woman intro too, where there's that like heist
Yes,
with like guys in suits and they're all shooting, and she shows up, and the guys, and I loved the monologue from the bad guy though, because he's like, "Man's best hope, back to the Dark Ages."
yeah.
And I was like, where is this? Like, this seems like a whole other movie.
I'm not sure. I mean, you could just make it a throwaway line. They're just terrorists so that you could see Wonder Woman in action.
But they're interesting terrorists who want to like bring the world back to like an older time of like technology by destroying everything.
because they've sort of embraced the hopelessness of the void post Superman is the idea. I'm not 100% sure what their end game, what they think.
It was very
but-
interesting, and then just Wonder Woman kicks some ass. But
Oh, totally, and it's awesome.
Well, and then the part where it's like, well, what'd you do this weekend, Diana? Just, nothing.
Yeah. She's very coy about it. But basically, we get these couple of setups of, from Diana's perspective, it's what the world's become post Superman. From Batman's perspective, it's what's coming. And then almost like right on the heels of that, we see Steppenwolf. He invades Themyscira, and where there's one of these mother boxes that he's after. And we get
it was
to see
a little
Queen-
bit. Yeah, it was after everybody else's intros, but yeah.
we get to see Queen Hippolyta again and the Amazons, and there's a frankly great action sequence of them trying to keep the mother box away from Steppenwolf.
Okay, I want to bring it up then because we're going to go right into that.
Sure.
The costumes. Would you have any thoughts about this? Because there's been a bunch of controversy about the costumes.
Yeah, I mean, people have been putting those pictures up where they're like, it's the difference
It's
between
the one-
the female and the male gaze. Because
Yeah.
the Amazon costumes have like separated
like the stomachs available and
stomachs
the
available,
boobs,
like separated
Yeah.
breasts and things like that, so that it definitely looks more male gazy. There was like a rebuttal from some of the Amazons, like the people portraying the Amazons, that were like, "It's fine. Like this is."
And there's also
I don't really know. I mean, I think it's a valid argument that you can make about the male gaze because ultimately, the directors are Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon, but I don't know that it was necessarily like nefarious
I've heard that
or like something like horrible, and I
Yeah.
think everyone was on board with it. But like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
their like kind of like weak explanation was that these are battle armors or training armor, and that's why.
Sure.
That's the best that I've heard so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Like, what did we really... And when I say we, I mean, like, people that are obviously going to make this a discussion and controversy, but, like, what are you expecting? Like, Lena Durham's, like, sweater in...
No, but like
girls,
you
or, like, what?
you haven't seen Wonder Woman yet, right?
the
No,
difference in the
So that's the
costumes
biggest
is,
difference?
Like, the Wonder Woman ones, they still have like
They're still sexy,
female
like-
lines. Yeah, they are still sexy, but they look more functional and
rather than like high heels and like stomachs showing and like
They weren't in high heels, were they?
in some of the images that they initially showed on Twitter, they were, but
Well, in the movie, they seemed to be kicking ass and riding horses like badasses. I don't give a fuck what they were wearing. They were putting it down.
I mean,
for sure.
Like, I wasn't focused on the fact that, like, breasts were separate. Like, I was more focused on, like, the action sequence. I thought that it was super cool
Yeah.
when that one chick, like, shoots the arrow to the other woman to catch it.
Yeah, so they
To-
tie
with
a
the
rope
box.
around the
Man,
mother
that was
box
badass.
and then fire
That
the
was
arrow.
so cool. Like,
They're playing hot potato with the mother box.
it was
basically.
amazing, though,
Yeah.
because she just, like... She was like laying on her side, and just like at the last minute before like the axe comes down on her, she's like, "Phew!" It's gone. Like, it was so cool.
and it was really cool. I'll admit it. I figured it's been in the public domain. And
Yeah,
people
no,
have been asking about
yeah,
it.
it's worth bringing up. I mean, I don't think I have a horse in the race.
No, I mean, yeah, none of us really have an
I think
actual opinion, but
I don't
Just
know.
based off
It's important
the
to
images,
ask it,
you
though.
can make a pretty valid point about.
I think it's
gays.
important to bring up the subject, though.
But
like,
yeah, I mean, like if the people involved were okay with it, and I mean, I guess it's just how you view it. If you view it and if you see the movie and that bothers you, I think there's a valid point in there. And if you see the movie and you ignore it, I think that's fine. But whatever you feel about it, yeah, I mean, it's worth
You're
discussion.
Right. You're
but
right to feel it.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't
My
think it's like
personal
I don't
male
see it though
gaze
as like
was for Jason Momoa about to.
That's
win
true.
the Oscar.
That was really
God damn it.
putting that for anywhere. Why don't we even actually go there?
I don't-
Because
it's not even a rebuttal. I'm just saying, like, Jason Momoa.
why don't we go into that, Bill?
drop.
Because I loved their individual kind of intros, and we got very brief ones. But like, you start with this sort of like wintry cliffside, and like Bruce Wayne's like looking around.
In, like, Iceland. I think.
Yeah, and then it opens up into this like town meeting, and Bruce is asking about like the man who like brings you fish or whatever.
comes on the king tide.
Yes, and then you don't realize that he's already there in the room.
Oh, I knew it. I could sense it immediately.
Well, I mean, because we knew the casting.
Well, yeah, but you could also, because you could kind of sense it.
Yeah.
Like, the vibe of the room was very much so.
It was very
Even
cool.
if you didn't know the casting,
Yeah.
and you didn't know who Jason Momoa is, you would know based on the feel of the room and like the way that it was shot that he was like the guy. And even the painting on the wall, like it's like looks exactly. like
I
him.
will say, and I mean, even in the comic book realm, there's ways around this. You could pull it off. I did find it interesting that it was Bruce Wayne doing the recruiting.
Really, eh? Why?
Because he's in that town in Iceland. He shows up like they probably know who Bruce Wayne is.
Well, that's true. He's this
and he
famous
shows
man.
up and he's like, I'm building an army. And then like all of the sudden Batman and Aquaman show up on TV later, like be like, oh, is that
Oh, I guess Batman's Bruce Wayne.
in the comics you could pull it off with like the Batman Incorporated thing where Batman comes out and says like, I fund the Justice League or
yeah.
whatever. But I did find that a little interesting.
That I didn't even think about that. One of the things I loved though was like the banter, like right
Yeah.
away. Like that, the sort of like bat banter between the two of them was so funny. Like you never get these. I want to.
Aquaman is very reluctant to join Batman's
He doesn't
cause.
even say yes. He swimmed away. Like
Batman says, Superman, he was like an example. He died fighting next to me, and Aquaman says, like, that's exactly my point.
yeah, exactly.
And then like swims away. Yeah, he doesn't want to join the
I
team.
want to be in that world so bad.
Yeah.
Like just that, like that with that weird, like Norwegian, like that landscape with like, it was just so
It's that very
cool.
kind of stark Scandinavian sort of.
And I love how they had like the drawings of like the mother boxes basically like on the wall.
Right. So we are going a bit all over the place, but let's use that to the plot of the film is relatively simple.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Steppenwolf he invades Themyscira to take this mother box.
Well, because the mother box like awoken.
There are 3 mother boxes. Yeah. And he needs to unite them, and it'll make this thing called the Unity, which would then turn the Earth into like a hellscape, like apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to do it before in ancient times.
He got his ass
and we get
kicked.
to see this in a later scene, where Diana kind of explains it. And he failed. And then the 3 mother boxes were split up among like that alliance. So the Atlanteans have one, the Amazons have one, and men had one.
It was kind of cool to see Hercules in that scene too, by the way.
Yeah, so we'll get there. So that's what Steppenwolf is after. So we get those like setup scenes We see this scene on Themyscira, and he gets the mother box and boom tubes away. And the Amazons then launch this. It's kind of like the lighting the beacons, like Lord of the Rings thing.
Very much was. How far did that thing go? Because it seemed like it went real far.
No one knows where that island is.
It went from Themyscira all the way to
Athens,
the Temple of the Amazons, somewhere else in Greece. But basically, they light this beacon, and Diana knows what it means, and then she meets up with Bruce, and that's when we get her kind of recounting.
I love
this ancient history.
I love the part where, one of the Amazons says, like, it's been so long, I don't know if men will know what it means.
It's been 5,000 years.
And she goes, she will.
Yeah.
I was just like,
that was pretty rad.
Yeah, it was.
So badass.
Yeah, it was really cool. So then we finally kind of get the backstory. Diana tells it, and we get to see it. And it, again, the Lord of the Rings connection, it feels very much like that last alliance of men and elves, like from the beginning of Lord of the Rings. We're seeing the Atlanteans and the Amazons and all the tribes of men fight against Steppenwolf and the parademons, like thousands and thousands of years ago. But not only that, like Colin said, we see the Olympian gods fighting alongside them, including Zeus, hurling some serious lightning. And, this bit, I actually squealed. There's a Green Lantern.
Was there? I did not see that.
Yep, a Green Lantern, an alien Green Lantern, like swoops in, makes a couple of constructs, beats a couple of parademons, and then Steppenwolf promptly dispatches him, and the ring flies off. One
of the things I love that Steppenwolf said to Wonder Woman at one point, like later on in the movie, was he's just like, "You have the blood of the old gods in you."
Yeah.
That was fucking rad.
Yeah, well, and he also like mentions that his axe is still like steeped in the blood of her sisters.
Yes,
like Steppenwolf's got some really good like taunt material in this movie. So yeah, we see that failure the first time. So we know what's driving Steppenwolf. He's basically in exile, and he wants to, now that the Kryptonian is dead, he wants to reinvade, finish what he started, to gain favor for Darkseid. He says for Darkseid once, and then you don't hear it again, but we know basically he's kind of in the doghouse. He needs to win the Earth.
Well, the first time he wanted like Earth to kneel before him before he like did it. Now he just wants to get it done. Like,
yeah. He's being much more efficient. He's not just waging a war. Yeah.
I want to talk about Barry Allen's intro.
Let's do it.
Because I think it was really interesting. I mean, if you've seen the show, you know this story really well. It starts with him basically in the prison. What I love is that scene where he's like checking into the prison and the guy behind him giving him a hard time. And then he does like the speed thing and like draws like stuff on his face.
Yeah. And he doesn't like, you don't even see him move.
No. Oh, it was so good.
And the prison guards like, those prescriptions?
Yeah. Oh my God. Cute? So good.
But we get to see Henry Allen, and he's in prison.
I love that actor who plays Henry Allen.
Billy
And I'm hoping that when we get more of the movie, we get to that story.
In the Watchmen?
He played Dr.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he was also
amazing actor.
He was also in Almost Famous.
So what are you saying is that Billy Crudup is
amazing?
Is playing both Dr. Manhattan and.
Let's not get too big for our britches. Let's not do Doomsday Clock in film already.
I loved that. I thought that was really great. I do have one issue with Barry Allen in this entire.
Sure.
I think this is a great Flash movie. I think that he's playing Barry really dumb for someone who's so smart. It's hard to believe that he's as smart as he is with how dumb he plays him.
But it's the different, like, he's brainy, but he's also like socially incompetent.
I find it's even hard. Like, he doesn't really show any of his brains. Kind of everything is just like, oh, he did that because he's really smart, but you never really see him be smart in it.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, so I mean, this is like similar to a criticism that gets leveled against Batman movies a lot, where it's like we don't see enough of the detective.
Yes. God, I want that film noir like.
Yeah, so I think that's probably a totally fair point. We don't really see the scientist, but in this. Yeah,
but there's a lot of opportunities for it, and I just don't see it. And that's one of the things that I could say that it kind of frustrated me. But I thought that like the way that they did his costume was really cool.
Yeah.
Like more believable. Like,
well, it looks like he made it himself. Yeah.
What did you think, Colin?
I think that as somebody who is an introvert and often a recluse, that I can see similar qualities and characteristics in somebody who isn't always so great at social interactions.
Yeah.
And so, like...
but you don't have the challenges of trying to be smart. I'm sorry.
Good one. Good one.
Ooh.
I'm sorry.
Shots fired.
Good one.
No, and I get that. He totally got the socially awkward part. I think like that part was nailed perfectly. The bad, jokey, like unsure of himself.
Yeah.
I just didn't get this this guy's a genius.
In the context of the DCEU, the Flash is very new on the scene. He is superheroing as the Flash, and we even saw that in Suicide Squad. He's the guy that apprehended Captain Boomerang. Mm-hmm. But as he points out later on, all he's done is basically like run in, push a guy, run away. Like he's never encountered a superhuman threat yet.
So the scene in Batman v Superman where he shows up, that's a future or a different universe?
Nope.
Is that this one?
Yeah.
Like
that where he kind of like he's in the store and he like yeah.
The part where where he's warping in and like warns him.
Oh yeah, that's an alternate future.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair to say that we don't see glimpses of his intelligence in the film.
Where did you see it?
It's when Batman is in his place when he walks in, he very quietly alludes to the fact how fucking brilliant he actually is.
But how? I don't remember that.
Well, yeah,
Because
he lists
of
the things that he's good at.
No, because of the suit. If you really, really look at the whole dynamic of that scene, where Batman's like, "Oh, did you make that yourself?" and he goes on to like very quietly express like, "Oh yeah, it's kind of like I can't remember the exact wording, but it's like a side project." And Batman goes like, "Oh yeah, well like." They would like wear that on like the space station. And
he says like this is the material they use to stop like the shuttle from burning up on re-entry.
And he says something in a retort to that.
Very competitive ice dancing.
Very competitive ice dancing, yes. And so in that moment, we get a glimpse of actually just how truly brilliant this young man is, because on his own, in his tiny little locked away space, covered in graffiti and computer screens, he has crafted a suit on his very own.
But I think
what Richard means, though, is that, like, you're right. Like, the set implies his intelligence very much. But we don't see it in practice in the film. We're told he's smart, and we can see he's smart. But, like, there's never a part in the plot where it's like, Barry, use your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there wasn't actually, like, a real need for it, I think.
There was opportunities, though. Like,
well, but what I mean is, like...
huge amounts of force only.
Yeah,
really.
No.
I think Richard's point is he would have wanted to see the plot go somewhere where it...
And also, I just found this characterization of it was a little too campy to be, like, this really smart guy. Like, I was looking for that the whole time, and I was like, a great opportunity is, like, when you see the TV show, it's believable how smart that Barry is. Yeah. He's not a genius in the TV show. He's just very smart. And I like that because he's working with all these very, very smart people at the labs. And so you get like, oh, Barry's smart, and he can kind of figure out what they're saying. But I feel like the characterization of this one is that he's this genius, and I just didn't get to see enough of it. I think that it's a small thing, but I was just like, I think I would have loved to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
But I did love his intro, and I thought that was it was great. I love that characterization of him. For sure. Yeah.
So in terms of what comes next, we've already met Aquaman and he's swam off. He doesn't want anything to do with Batman's plan.
But there's somebody else.
The next that we see him, he's in Atlantis. In Atlantis,
he saves.
Yes. So he saves the fisherman. He does the badass whiskey walk.
Oh, so good.
We love that.
Is that what we're calling it now? The Aquaman whiskey walk?
Yeah. But when he saves the fisherman, he finds like parademon blood. He knows something's up. So he swims to Atlantis, and Atlantis is under attack by Steppenwolf. We get to meet Mira, who has a brief fight with Steppenwolf, which is really cool.
And really not just holds her own, but pushes him to rank, which is kind of cool.
I mean, in the comics, Mira is arguably more powerful than Aquaman. So it's really cool to see her kind of in the forefront there. Aquaman fights Steppenwolf a little bit, kind of gets his ass handed to him. And Steppenwolf gets away with the Atlantean mother box. We get a brief scene of a little bit of Aquaman backstory about how he was left on land, and how we get a sense of how he feels, like abandoned by Atlantis and like he doesn't fit and things like that. And Mira basically reminds him he's like
Atlantean.
He's the Atlantean heir. And
he's just like, she didn't even care about me. She got rid of me the second she could.
And she reminds him that it's his duty as the Atlantean heir to fix this problem. So he says, I'm going to need to borrow something. And it's implied that's what he gets his armor and trident.
Yeah. Well, also, I think there was an interesting point, too, where she was just like, because he's like, oh, like my mother didn't even care about me. She dropped me off like immediately. And she was like, she did that to save you.
Yeah. Yeah, which I can only imagine we're going to delve into in that Aquaman film.
Which I'm really excited about.
But basically, yeah, so that's 2 mother boxes down. The third one...
Oh, but first, we did miss one extra character. Cyborg.
I was just getting... Yeah.
Yeah, which I guess, yes, okay, the other mother box, yes, okay,
yeah.
You're definitely...
So that third mother box, Cyborg has it. And we have some scenes leading up to this between Cyborg and his father, Silas Stone, who's the head of Star Labs, the guy who made him Cyborg by using the mother box technology to basically grow him a synthetic body. Cyborg is kind of grappling with the fact that he's gaining new abilities and things each day.
Constantly, yeah.
He's not sure what he is or where he fits or if he has a place in the world.
If he's even human anymore, because he kind of makes an offhand comment being like, it took away his humanity.
Well, and this comes up multiple times in the movie, whether or not he controls the machine.
Exactly,
or if it's taking him over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because there's a part where Steppenwolf refers to it as an agent of chaos.
Yeah, well, and he says you're born of the mother box. So basically, Cyborg knows where that last mother box is. Silas tells him, do not let it fall into the wrong hands.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, Cyborg as well kind of doesn't want to be part of the team. He sees himself as an outsider. When Diana kind of tries to recruit him, he basically says, no, thank you. But
I don't think he doesn't just want to be part of the team. I think he just doesn't want to be part of like humanity.
Well, but that's what I mean.
Pretty wild.
But then his father, along with other Star Labs scientists, are kidnapped by Steppenwolf so that he can interrogate them and find out where the last mother box is. And that's when Cyborg joins Flash, Wonder Woman, and Batman, and they go to fight Steppenwolf basically under Gotham Harbor.
Yes, the first fight with Steppenwolf.
It's their first fight as a team. It goes okay,
for some reason
great.
It's already fighting with Steppenwolf. This is the point where that frustrated me. How quickly they were immediately started fighting Steppenwolf.
Sure. They fight Steppenwolf the first time. It's actually not going terribly.
No, and that's why I was just like, oh, is this the fight? And I got to look and I'd be like, oh no, there's a whole hour left of this.
They're fighting decently as a team. It's not like total shambles. The way that is kind of like the trope where it's like the first fight, like you guys are terrible, and then you learn your teamwork, and they're actually okay, but just not winning.
The Flash does that nice little
there's that great scene where the Flash basically fetches Wonder Woman her sword and things like that. But ultimately, Steppenwolf defeats them, gets the mother box, gets away. Oh no, he doesn't get the mother box. Sorry, Steppenwolf gets away though, and the tunnel that they're in under the harbor collapses, and that's when Aquaman shows up, holds off the water, and then as a team they say, like, what do we do? And now we're at the point where the big spoiler part of the plot comes in. They still have the one mother box left. Cyborg has it.
Well, and there's that scene also where Steppenwolf delivers the mother box into the other dimension too.
Yes.
And he speaks about like exile and the new gods,
yeah,
which I thought was really interesting because
it's where we learn that he
wants to become one of the new gods.
Well, I mean, his race are the new gods, but we learn that he's been exiled, presumably because of his failure the first time around, and that this is his way to be put back into the good graces of the Lord of Apocalypse, Darkseid. So the crazy plan, and this is, you mentioned Batman goes a little crazy, and he actually does. This is something I like, because in the comics, you do see desperate Batman sometimes, and desperate Batman's brain goes to very dangerous places. And in this movie, it definitely does. They learn that Cyborg is made of Mother Box, that it regrew and like merged with his cells, and Batman says, do you know what else we could use this on? The corpse of Superman.
Which is crazy. And one of the things I love about this is you start understanding exactly what Batman feels about himself as well as Superman.
Well, yeah. So Batman is like racked with guilt, even though Batman's not the one that delivered the killing blow. Batman blames himself for the death of Superman, even though that's what he was out to do in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, he has that epiphany, and then they team up, and then it happens anyway. And he sees Superman's true nature, that he's selfless and he'd give himself up for
He said
humanity.
he's more human than I am.
Well, yeah, he points out to Alfred that he lived a real life.
Yeah. He had a wife.
He fell in love. He had a
Part-time
job.
job.
He did everything Bruce Wayne hasn't done.
Yeah.
And so he's so racked with guilt about this that he's willing to basically desecrate Superman's corpse and risk him coming back as something else. Barry Allen refers to it as the Pet Cemetery.
Oh my God.
effect.
I loved that. Barry Allen in that whole scene is so funny. Like when they're first going into the Batcave and he's like, oh, it's like a cave. Like a bat cave.
Oh yeah, and he's flashing around into the Batmobile and checking.
So good. Or even right before that, when they're when the whole Justice League is talking to Commissioner Gordon, and they all just disappear, and he's just like, "Oh, that's kind of rude."
Rude.
Yeah, that's
I love that that's not a spoiler.
Yeah, that was in the trailer.
Yes, it's true. That is.
But yeah, so this is the thing that kind of divides the teams. Diana is against this. Bruce.
Well, they got in a fight. They got in a fight because he basically made a comment about Steve Trevor.
Brings up Steve Trevor. Yeah, and this is what I mean. This is desperate Batman. This he's not thinking clearly.
No,
you don't provoke someone that much stronger than you.
No, and she showed him that she was stronger than him.
You don't risk everything on a premise that you don't know if it will work. But ultimately, the team kind of goes along with it because Cyborg, while this sort of argument is happening, crunches the numbers and says there's a high probability we could bring him back. Well, they don't know how he'll come back.
While you were being a dick, I was crunching the numbers. I love that.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Sometimes dead is better.
Well, exactly. Yeah, good callback.
Yeah.
So we get to see the Kryptonian scout ship again. This is where Doomsday was created in Batman v Superman in that Genesis chamber, and using the Flash's lightning and Cyborg's mother box and the Kryptonian Genesis chamber, they do bring Superman back.
What could go wrong?
He's not outright evil, but he's not fully back either. He doesn't necessarily know where he is or who he's piecing it together. And this is the moment where Cyborg's machinery acts up on him and he can't control it and he fires at Superman. And now the Justice League has to fight Superman, which goes poorly generally. There's a great shot of the Flash kind of running,
and they're the same speed almost.
So the Flash starts running around him, and then you just Superman's in slow mo, and you see his eye move to catch him, and Barry's face is complete
no one's ever done this.
No one's done this before. Barry is definitively faster because he dodges every one of Superman's swings.
Which is an interesting, they put their foot down there,
But it's a cool scene because Superman's moving in mid slow-mo, Barry's moving at normal speed, and everyone else is in super slow-mo. So you really get the sense of how fast these beings are moving. I really loved how that was shot. I thought it was really cool. And ultimately Batman shows up. And he's been saying he has a contingency of Superman's back.
I know, that's really interesting.
He'd be Kryptonite, come on, Batman. But when he shows up, and Superman...
It's red-headed kryptonite.
Yes.
Superman throws that
every man's kryptonite.
Superman throws that "Do you bleed?" comment back at him.
Oh, I love that. Do you bleed?
And tell me. It's revealed that Batman's contingency plan is Lois, who we have seen earlier in this movie. I didn't bring her up because she basically doesn't do anything.
No, they basically hit her.
It's just her being sad mostly.
With she apologizes to Clark Kent.
So let's get to that.
So good.
She shows up. Clark, it kind of snaps Clark back. That connection between the two of them is what makes him whole again, and they fly off.
My favorite part of them together is you smell good. And he's like, did I not before?
And then she leaves him hanging.
I know.
Give a guy a fucking complex. Why don't you, Lois Lane, you dick?
So yeah, like Colin said, he flies them to the Kent farm. So he's going to all these places that make him feel at home and things like that. And you can see that we're getting Superman back. But not only that, he's probably a happier Superman than we've ever seen him. He's kind of amazed to have like a second chance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we get like some nice Lois moments. She apologizes that she wasn't strong. She's basically been writing puff pieces. She's not been the journalist she was because it was too hard. It reminded her too much of her life with Clark and things like that. We get a nice moment with Martha Kent as well. And then Lois says, you know, I have to send you away. Like Bruce needs you. And Superman flies off.
Can we talk about the whole mustache thing?
Yeah, I think we have to. Remember when I said that despite this movie's flaws, I loved it. I loved every moment.
Yeah.
The only thing that ever took me out of this movie
is how much you could see that there was a mustache and they cut it.
It's really poor CGI.
It's really bad. Did you not notice?
Which mustache? Sorry?
So Superman had a mustache when they actually filmed this?
No. When they filmed,
yes.
He was clean shaven, and
yes.
then he was cast as the villain for MI6.
Yes.
And then they were doing reshoots, but he wasn't allowed to shave his MI6 mustache, so they had to digitally edit it out. But what happened is, I think
you see it in that very first scene in the movie with the kids in the phone.
You see it in the phone image. You see it in the line, "Do you bleed?" That was clearly a reshoot.
Yeah.
And you see it kind of periodically throughout the movie. Sort of hodgepodge, because it just depends on what was reshot and what wasn't. But it like alters the shape of Henry Cavill's face and
it's
mouth.
It's really weird.
Like they don't get it right. And you didn't notice, eh?
No.
I mean that's good. If people don't notice, then
I heard about it, and
noticed.
I forgot about it, and then I saw that first scene, and I mean the quality I was watching wasn't great, and I still noticed it.
Yeah.
That first scene especially, I was like, oh, that's weird.
It's just...
Oh, did you go see it at the Quanland Cinema as well?
Yeah, I saw it at a place.
Where the quality is never very good?
No, I saw it on a place, on a thing.
Oh, you saw it on the airplane?
On a thing,
yeah,
at a place.
On the airplane.
Dude, let it go.
Shut up.
Yeah, I will say that is one thing that did bother me.
Yeah.
I had a hard time moving past it.
It just took me out of it. That was the only issue.
Yeah, so, and you see it in this scene at the Kent farm and things like that. Oh, by the way, Ma Kent, she couldn't pay her bills. The Kent farm got foreclosed on.
Yeah, what the hell? That's neither here nor there, yeah.
But don't let me forget that.
Just to hurt your feelings.
I mean, I'll say this right now. I'll probably reiterate it again a few times, but there's a few things in this movie where you can see that, like, whatever Zack Snyder was going for was probably way more in depth because the amount and the what we actually got out of characters like Martha Kent, Lois Lane, like some stuff, even like Alfred or Gordon. I bet you they were in more of the original idea of the movie.
Why don't we talk about that then? Because there's rumors that there's a 3-hour version of this.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yes, please.
Right?
I'd watch that. I would just save an extra hour.
Ultimately, though, that version, I imagine, wouldn't just be longer. It would be a different movie. Because those reshoots, and you could see it like kind of all throughout, those reshoots like change the tone of the film. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I kind of already said that in my very general kind of opinion. But it's definitely not the tone of Batman v Superman.
It felt like
Man of Steel.
There felt like there was a struggle going on this entire movie of what this movie wanted to be, and I mean that you can clearly point to where that came from.
The movie we got, I think, is the most. I'll call it like the utilitarian cut of the film. It is like the minimum amount of time with characters and plot to get you from start to finish.
Yeah.
Again, I don't necessarily hate that. I think like standalone, it's actually it makes a pretty good film. But if you are one of those people that really love that sort of long kind of builds on itself Zack Snyder thing where it's like little hints from a couple of movies ago will come back, you're definitely going to miss that in this movie. That is, if you were going in for like that sort of subtlety of like Snyder's sort of directorial vision, the movie suffers that way.
What it felt like to me was they cut off a lot of extra fat and then they took in the little Avengers spice they had in the shelf and just tried to sprinkle that around. And so you get that like sort of like tongue-in-cheek kind of jokey, like Pet Sematary sort of. I would put money that the Pet Sematary joke was from Joss.
Oh, totally.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. And so you get these little tastes of Avengers kind of throughout it, where it's just this sort of fun time. But then there's that like DC Zack Snyder like grim blackness. Like really, that's the structure of the entire thing. And so I find that like through the entire thing, it was this weird struggle where it wanted to be fun and playful in this popcorn short movie, but then you could see that there was like these little like branches that got cut off, and you're like, I bet that went somewhere and we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, totally. And for those like on both sides, like critics and fans who hate that, like I get it. I certainly don't want you to think that
we don't get it.
Well, but also
because we get it.
But also, like the internet is always, but particularly around this movie, has become very hostile.
Yeah.
Like I don't. If you don't like it, that's fine. You're probably right not to.
Not as much as you were right with Suicide Squad, but I get it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad movie, but if you feel kind of like betrayed, because you kind of signed up for a particular type of movie and you didn't get it, like you're right.
Yeah, like they led up to this one type of movie and they didn't give it to you.
I gotta say, like I said before, and I'll say again, even though I know it in my head, in my heart, I just loved this movie. I thought it was fun. I know that kind of doesn't match, but I don't care. I teared up watching this movie.
What part? Just in general?
From being so happy. Like, I don't mean like a sad part really.
Oh, okay.
We were the one that really got me was the ancient battle. When I saw that Green Lantern and I saw Zeus and I saw the Amazons.
They went for it.
Like, I couldn't believe that I was watching it. And then when the League eventually gets fully assembled, it happened again. Like, there's that 10-year-old who thought that Superman was going to show up in Batman and Robin got a Justice League movie. Like, and plus it was my birthday. So I was like, I'm sitting with
all your friends,
my friends, and a bunch of them are just watching me watch the movie because they're not as interested in the actual,
of course,
the proceedings.
And everyone knows that what this means.
But I was just like, I mean, I was expecting to enjoy it, but like, I don't think even I realized how much I wanted this. Like, it really just delivered everything I wanted. Could it have done better? Like, oh, definitely.
But
I don't care.
Yeah, you got it, and that it didn't completely fail.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
and it hit a bunch of very right buttons.
Yeah.
In different areas.
I think we all liked it. I just think it could have done more, and there's definitely some flaws in it, and it's not a perfect thing. But it's definitely enjoyable. I'd be, and if I could get more of it, I want it. I mean, I think that there's something to say. Like, if someone told me there was a 4-hour Suicide Squad, I go fuck yourself. Put that fucking movie in a garbage, set it on fire, and I make sure that no canister exists of this.
Yeah.
But if I got a third hour of this, would you see it, Colin?
Oh yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
I think that the problem with having one director step off and another director step in is that, like we've discussed, there is a struggle for what movie gets made.
Yes.
And so
there's definitely studio
with Richard
meddling.
saying that there was a lot of Avenger-esque kind of haha in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would it have been too serious to go the other way? We'll never know.
No, exactly. And I think let's move into when the team's finally together now, because there's some really funny and great moments there. Like Aquaman. I'm very curious to hear about your opinion about him explaining the fish talking thing.
Oh yeah.
When he's just like, well, I don't talk to the fish. I talk the water. I talk to the water. The water moves. Like, that's where the fish go.
Well, basically, so the context of this is after this sort of first battle with Steppenwolf, and then they resurrect Superman, and then he flies off. The team doesn't know that Superman's coming back.
No.
So they have to basically formulate their plan. They have to find Steppenwolf where he's got the mother boxes. Oh yeah, by the way, so they bring Superman back, and then they're so preoccupied with him when they're fighting him, they forget they just left the mother box, and then Steppenwolf just takes it and goes away. Like, that third mother box is the easiest get for him. So they know that he's got all three. They know that it's like crunch time. So everyone is doing their berries on the internet, trying to find evidence. Cyborg is connected to like everything. He's looking for energy surges to find where on Earth.
Yeah, you really didn't need Barry. Like, Cyborg's got it.
Cyborg's got it. But Batman pulls Arthur aside and says, could you... He doesn't like know how to ask it. He's like, could you put out the feelers? Or, I don't know how this like talk to fish thing works. And Aquaman says like, I don't talk to fish. Like the water speaks to them.
They move with the tide, and like I can control the tide.
The idea is they're implying the same sort of thing that is in the comics, where it's not like a direct communication where he says like go left and the fish goes left. It's more of like a suggestion. It's like a feeling kind of thing.
How did you feel about that?
I like it. I think describing that power as slightly more nuanced than just like Gary, how's the seaweed? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's silly Aquaman. Just having it be a little harder to describe like that, I liked. But basically they're hunting for it. They eventually find the energy surge. It's in like a basically Chernobyl stand-in. It's in
Russia, yeah.
That's kind of bombed out. We get these like cutaways of this family that are dealing with the fact that they're surrounded by parademons, and then the Earth around them
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
it was definitely a weird kind of. I didn't expect it to get in there,
and it didn't just like hit them once. They humanized the whole film with that family.
It's a very deliberate choice of location. There are people living there, so there's people for them to save. There's civilians to worry about, but it's not a full city like Metropolis.
Yeah, so they can't deal with the whole Superman thing again.
Where there's million... So like they can still cause destruction because it's mostly abandoned.
Because there's that...
It's like kind of like the perfect balance of like wipe out a building, but like, oh shit, the truck. They can like sort of flip between them. It's actually very smart as a location.
Though I do love when they do have that fight earlier on, and like they destroy some buildings, and like Gordon goes up to Batman and he's just like, "Wow, you fucking made that much destruction,
property damage."
Yeah, glad you haven't changed. Like you're still fucking shit up.
Yeah. So
then they move on to the ship.
Yeah, the Flying Fox, which Batman has been working on this whole time. It's his like troop transport.
And the funniest part of the entire movie comes.
Well, yeah. But basically, as they're formulating this plan, Diana and Bruce make up a little bit. Diana realizes
she really hurt him.
Well, that, but also realizes that in his own horrible way, Bruce is trying to push her to lead the team. Bruce
right.
Might seem like he's the one that's trying to be the leader.
He doesn't want to be a leader, though.
But he knows he can't be. He's just being shitty about how he's doing it, but he's trying to push Diana into the leadership role. Diana basically accepts that, and Bruce even says, like, my days doing this are kind of numbered. Like, I can barely do this. And that's the hint that we're not done with desperate Bruce yet.
Yeah.
And we see that because when they get there, basically Bruce's plan isn't that much of a plan. It's like, you guys get Steppenwolf. I'll take down like the Shield and stuff like that. But Bruce has basically put himself on a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And he flies in and the parademons are after him, and he's in the Batmobile, he's in the Flying Fox, and all of these things.
Can we talk about Aquaman on the lasso? Though?
Oh, yes. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Because do you remember that scene? That was, oh my god, I loved that. My favorite line specifically is just like when he's sitting on it and he's like, and he says, he's like, we went to war with the, because he talks to everybody and then he hits on Wonder Woman and he's like, we went to war with the Amazons.
Batman's kind of describing
that was before my time.
He's describing the game plan, and then, yeah, that's when we get that, like, frankly, I think we're all going to die.
Yes.
But it's a warrior's death, and he's like going through and he's like, you don't know what you're doing. You're just a guy in a bat suit. No offense.
Yeah.
And he's like going through and he like looks at one of them.
You're a kid.
And he just goes like, God, you're beautiful. Like, ooh. And like, I know we were at war with the Amazons, but
that was before my time.
And then he gets like really real. He's like, no, you know what? I don't want to die. I got things I want to do. And it's like, it's a really weird speech. And you're like, what the hell's happening to Aquaman? And then
Batman reaches down. Batman points it out.
Batman points it out and he reaches down and he's been sitting on the lasso.
Oh.
So
it was it's the most so Joss Whedon thing I've ever seen.
But I loved that.
It was great though.
I thought it, because that's that's a thing that, like, that's a gag from comics, too, of the accidental lasso, like, contact. That's a great little bit of fan service, and it's really funny. It's a funny moment before we go to the serious plan. And then, we jump in kind of where I was, where I left off. So Batman's basically put himself on this suicide mission, and you're following him, and he's about to basically bite it.
Yeah.
The Flying Fox is down. The Batmobile's getting ripped apart.
And
he's
then
out of ammo.
You get that great scene with Cyborg when he takes over the bat thing.
Well, that's in the previous.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
But then the team, instead of going after Steppenwolf, they say Batman. And that's Diana's call. She has decided that the team is
more important. And
that's where instead of the version where it's like, oh, we were clumsy fighters and now we're great. It's more about the notion of what the team means. It's not.
You didn't get a Mighty Ducks.
It makes me think of
ducks fly together.
That's exactly
right. Quack, quack, quack.
It makes me think of there's a line.
Bad.
There's a line in the animated Wonder Woman movie where she is like harassing Steve Trevor for not having left her to die and save the world instead. And he says, maybe I don't think the world's worth saving if you're not in it. Oh. And I think that's like the idea of this moment in the film. But basically...
Yeah, I totally caught that too.
At this point, we're in this full fight. Cyborg's trying to deal with the mother boxes, with the Unity. The team's fighting Steppenwolf. They're fighting parademons. It gets pretty brutal. There's some pretty brutal fighting. Aquaman is a super badass.
Obviously.
Wonder Woman is incredible.
Yeah, obviously.
There's some great Batman stuff fighting parademons. That's pretty good. Cyborg and the Flash are kind of looking out for each other a little bit. Like, they've formed a bit of a bond. And when things seem darkest...
Oh, yeah.
Hope returns.
Superman shows up and beats the shit out of Steppenwolf. Oh, come on! Okay, let's address this.
I do want to hear what you think of this, but I'll just say first, I know it's quippy. I know the people that love Zack Snyder probably hated this line, but I really liked it. Basically, Steppenwolf has ripped Cyborg apart, and he says when will you see the truth? And then you just hear this. You hear Superman just say, I'm a fan of truth. But, or something about truth, and then I'm a fan of justice too, and that's the truth, justice, in the American way, sort of thing. And then you're like, holy shit, Superman! And it's okay.
And he beat the shit out of Steppenwolf.
Take a little pause here. You didn't like that, Colin?
No.
Okay.
Because it felt just way in much the same way that you felt the movie was rushed. I felt that it was bullshit.
Okay, but expand. Bullshit in what way?
Okay, well, you've got a fucking alien in a cape, or you have a demigod with a fucking sword. She does almost minimal to no damage to Steppenwolf, and yet Superman half-ass punches this guy and he goes through a fucking wall. Are you kidding me?
But do you know Superman's power level?
Well, yeah, he's real tough or whatever. But I mean, if they're all supposed to be superheroes...
but they're not all equal.
Well, I just feel like Diana's I feel Wonder Woman should
okay,
be
sorry. I
badass.
thought you just didn't like the manner of his return. You just don't like that Superman is Superman.
I just hate that he's a fucking fix-all for everything. It was bullshit. It made it go way too fast, and it just seemed like a fucking easy out.
But it is very easy to take Superman down. There's a rock that seems to be everywhere.
The dude fucking died already. I'm sorry, but this, if Steppenwolf is really trying his absolute hardest to regain grace with the dark side or whatever the fuck this thing's called, I don't fucking think so. I think that he's gonna put up a bit more of a fight against Superman and actually everybody. I just felt like it was such horseshit that Superman is just we see him as weak in the fact that he dies, and then we see that he's this fucking Alzheimer-y zombie.
Well, he's supposed to be Jesus.
That's just so fucking annoying, man. It's
Moses? Is it Moses?
In the original comics.
Oh, okay. Because they make it very Jesus-y.
I don't give a shit. I just thought it was just such a fucking cheap out.
Okay.
Superman tends to be that, though.
I will say, when Superman shows up, that fight turns quickly in favor of the Justice League.
Yeah, put up a fucking struggle.
It was like when the Hulk in the Marvel movie grabs Loki and just kind of tosses him around and throws him away.
But what I will grant you is maybe with the movie being as short as it is and as sort of cut down and edited as it is,
they just had to jump right into it.
Well, no. Maybe we're missing some more back and forth that maybe would have felt nice.
Maybe speed through the credits. I don't know.
But I think what it does do is, if we imagine for a second that like everything's going great and they're going to make these movies forever. If Steppenwolf is the big bad that Atlantis and Themyscira and men had to fight off the first time with Green Lanterns and Olympians, and then in the second go around, it takes the combined power of the Justice League. If Superman can take Steppenwolf down like that, then we're trying to set up like, but how powerful is Darkseid?
Yeah.
You know, like, at the end of the day, Steppenwolf, even as the big bad, is the lackey.
You see that, because,
Okay.
For Marvel fans listening, Darkseid is... I mean, he's more powerful than, but he's the DC analog to Thanos. Thanos was, like, inspired by Darkseid. Darkseid came first, but basically,
they even look
in terms of their position in like the mythologies of those comic books, they occupy the same sort of space.
Okay, but let's look at this on a storytelling point of view. If Batman, in a desperation, was so fucking crazy that he was like, let's resurrect Superman and just hope for the best. Somebody that's been in exile for, 5,000 fucking years?
Yeah.
You think he's going to let one guy hit him once and it's just going to be fucking
Well, but he doesn't
over?
really have a choice in letting him. Superman is too powerful.
It just seemed like too much of an easy out for me. I
guess I can't argue that because, like I said, that fight turns on a fucking dime when Superman shows up. But what we get for really the first time in the DCEU that I think...
He freezer boxes his axe.
Well, no.
So that Diana can just slice it in half or whatever.
No, shut up. What we get for the first time that does sort of extend how long that fight goes is that Superman is about to fucking win the day, and then he hears civilians. Superman's fucking out of there right away. They were about to win, and then Superman's like, this is more important. And he and the Flash are saving civilians. There's a hilarious scene where the Flash...
It's like, I hope I'm
pushing the car.
The Flash pushes this truck like out of harm's way, and he's like, yeah, I did it. And then he looks over and Superman's carrying a fucking building full of people and then like puts it down.
And he's kind of just like, no, okay, I'm still happy with what I did.
Yeah. But that's like a great moment. So what we finally see is the Superman who won't win at all costs.
He's not Batman.
That there is a way to win in which you preserve your soul. And I think it's nice.
He doesn't have one because he's a fucking zombie.
Okay.
Skim over that.
So that is what extends, quote unquote, the fight. Because if Superman wasn't doing that, it'd be over.
Yeah. But Steppenwolf comes back.
But I kind of like that. That's the ultimate idea of Superman.
I like that he saved the building. And
he's a man with the power of a god who walks among people, who values people as much as himself. He's not just... If you watched Man of Steel and you had a problem with the wanton destruction, then this is the fucking Superman moment. Because that's exactly the opposite of what that criticism was.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And so Steppenwolf comes back. And so through that, they destroy the mother box.
Yes. Cyborg and Superman together destroy the mother boxes.
No, they destroy Unity.
They destroy the Unity.
Unity, yeah.
And
does that destroy those boxes though, or do they go...
They do destroy them, don't they?
I thought they pull them apart.
They pull them apart, and it causes an explosion.
Oh, right.
Because he's like, do you think like what's gonna happen? And he's just like, I've calculated it, and
it's like an energy out.
It's gonna hurt, but like we'll be able to deal with it.
Well, we can survive.
Yeah.
The thing about his toes.
Yes, oh my god, that was so funny. It was just like, why do my toes hurt? That doesn't even make any sense. Like,
like post explosion, both Superman. It's a really nice Superman cyborg moment. That's like not a character combination.
No, it's cool.
So that was nice. And then there's the final fight with Steppenwolf, where we finally see Superman's freeze breath.
Yeah.
which is awesome.
And Wonder Woman kicks some ass.
So he freezes the axe. Wonder Woman goes in, destroys the axe. Aquaman stabs him with the trident. And all through this movie, we've been told that parademons sense and feed on fear.
And Batman makes a snarky comment.
And then in this moment...
they all stab him in
this
their own way.
moment where Steppenwolf is about to be defeated, there's like a, can you smell that? And Batman says, fear. And the parademons turn on Steppenwolf, and a boom tube opens, and he's dragged back to presumably
exile.
Well, or worse, at the hands of Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
And his helmet, falls
basically
out.
it.
That's basically it. We got a few, like the wrap-up scenes.
Yeah,
we got a great shot of Henry Cavill does the classic, like, Superman running, tearing the shirt open, like, to become Superman thing. Batman goes into that derelict Wayne Manor that we saw in Batman v Superman.
Oh, it starts,
and he's going to turn it into the Hall of Justice. He says,
in
like,
there with Diana.
there'll be, like, room for a round table here, six chairs.
And room for more.
Room for more.
Oh.
So, Hall of Justice.
Even though we don't get to hear anything about Green Lantern except for that flashback and the whole thing, there's so much from the trailer that didn't end up in the movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, that whole Steppenwolf speech.
Yeah,
like,
no
protectors here, no Kryptonian, no lanterns.
Yes.
Yeah. But we see that. Barry Allen becomes a CSI thanks to, a source, recommendation letter, which we know is Bruce Wayne. Hey, remember how the Kent farm was foreclosed on? Not anymore. Clark asks Bruce, like, how did you get the farm back from the bank? And Bruce says,
I bought the bank.
So fucking cool.
Which is kind of like a fun little, like, oh, bought the farm.
Fun comic book fact, though. Bruce Wayne does own all of the places Clark lives.
Really?
Yeah. Like his apartment in Metropolis.
Worst landlord ever.
Oh my god, that probably comes up quite frequently.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, hey, Clark, you're late?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Batman spends a lot of time replacing light bulbs. He's a really attentive landlord. But yeah, so we just get a lot of these kind of setup scenes, and that's basically the movie. It's a very simple plot.
Doesn't lead into the next movie, which I'm hoping will happen and will be a Darkseid movie. But
okay, but on a serious note, though, can we sidebar to a great sitcom idea that I just came up with? Where
is it just Batman fixing?
No, it's Batman and Superman are roommates, but Batman owns the house.
Like a Perfect Stranger situation, but one of them is the landlord.
It's almost The Odd Couple.
Superman's Balky.
Superman's like always late on rent, and he like always eats.
Yeah,
the
that sounds like
leftovers.
Superman.
Yeah.
Defaulting.
Well, his mom did it, so runs in the quote unquote family.
What I will say, plot wise, we're kind of done there. Let's just go back now that we've talked about sort of the whole thing, and just kind of quickly sum up like a couple of favorite moments and a couple of things that we didn't like. I'll start and say I really loved the Atlantis scene. I loved how the water looked. I loved that fight. I loved the mechanics of it. I liked seeing Mira.
And as we hear, water is difficult to film, apparently.
Yeah. Thank you, James Wan. So I'm excited to see that stuff. What I will say is, in the way that you were upset that we didn't get to see Barry's intelligence in action, that final setting, that Chernobyl area, couldn't be further from the fucking water. So, I mean...
I know.
Aquaman is very strong. He's a great fighter, and he's a super badass. He does all that flying stuff you see in the trailer. Like, it's awesome, and he's great. But
there's no fucking water.
You know what we don't see in this movie? We don't see marine telepathy. Even in the Atlantis scene, he doesn't like send sharks in.
I swims by a.
I was
missing
that very crucial Aquaman specific ability. I wished that was in there. I mean, it clearly didn't affect how much I enjoyed the movie, but like when you're doing like that math, my dad put this in a really good way using a terrible movie. That first Fantastic Four movie, sorry, not the first one, but the one with Chris Evans as Johnny Storm.
Oh, yeah.
The final fight in that, say what you will about the movie, but they put their powers together. Like Johnny flies around Doctor Doom to create heat, and Sue makes a force field to trap the heat in, and the Thing like breaks open a fire hydrant with his strength, and then Reed Richards turns himself into like a thing to direct the water, and then they like melt and super cool Doctor Doom. Their 4 powers come together very specifically to save the day. When you're doing that math in the Justice League, it doesn't happen. You just have Wonder Woman and Aquaman, who are strong and good fighters. You have Batman, who's a bit of a tactician, who's thrown that out the window because he's super desperate and like guilt-ridden and kind of off the deep end. You have Flash, who's brand new and still is literally tripping over his own feet. He's still not fully comfortable in his powers. Cyborg, who has to kind of fight against his own machinery to stay in control. I mean, really the only one ultimately in any control of their like full abilities, Wonder Woman and Superman. But you're not seeing like a range of powers the way that I would like to. Again, I don't necessarily think, like, when I watched it, I didn't think like, damn it. But like looking back, like that's a missed opportunity for sure.
Yeah, but a reboot to that would be that this is quite literally the beginning of the Justice League. So the thing that maybe we were talking about earlier, how the first fight, it's always like, they're a bunch of misfit kids and they'll figure it out eventually. Maybe that is what this movie is.
As a whole.
Though they win the day, there is a lot of fumbling around and figuring it out. And it is kind of essentially the first day at it, It's kind of what I took out of it.
That's totally true. But I think because it's the intro, I would have wanted to see the range of their powers. Like even with the Flash, we get to see a bit. Because not only does he use his speed, he literally like channels the lightning to power the mother box. That's a different Flash ability, is actually like harnessing the lightning itself.
Jason Momoa is just like ridiculously hot in All That Is Man, so like he's super harnessed to that.
He's got a beefcake factor of 11. But other things that you guys like, moments that you loved, or moments that you were like, oh, almost, or like anything.
So for me, it did a few things. It did something for each character for me. One, for Wonder Woman, it got me excited to see more Wonder Woman. Like,
totally.
I think like that's a character that they've really solidified of what she is, what she does, her abilities. They take away some of the stupid shit, like the fucking invisible jet. We haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Thank God. So I'm just like, I want to spend more time with her. I think she's cool. She's clearly having to deal with.
She's the most fully formed.
Exactly. She still has to deal with Steve Trevor, but at the same time, like, I would love to see her in different decades and like how she kind of goes through history. Yeah. All that stuff is really great. It's consistent. It nothing changed. It didn't make me more excited. It just made me go, yes, I still really like Wonder Woman. They didn't fuck that up. With the Flash, this was the perfect origin for me for the Flash, but it also put me in a position where I'm like, I could see more Flash. I couldn't really take, I could take or leave it. I think this really did Flash in a way that I'm like, cool, I'm okay with this. We got Barry Allen. We already got a Barry Allen. They did a really great job, and they really, really well, like, made that.
You mean the TV one?
Yes, that's what I mean. Sorry. So we've already got that television one. He's got the same, it is Barry Allen, so they didn't change the story. You're not getting anything else.
Yeah, his dad's still in prison. Yeah, his mom was murdered. So, yes, I think it'll probably be a little bit prettier, and they'll have maybe a slightly better actors in it or something, but I have it. I don't need more of it necessarily. Sure. Right.
I think it's good, though. Cyborg is really cool. I'm afraid of what a full movie would be.
Cyborg,
there'd be so many ways to fuck that up.
Cyborg has only a very recent like solo history. Like he had never had a solo series before like 2 years ago,
and it's cool.
So he doesn't necessarily have like a standard rogues gallery or things like that. I think it's full of potential.
Totally.
But it's almost totally uncharted territory.
And that's what's scary. There's a great TV show on Netflix called iBoy, which is a very, very pared down version of this, but similar kind of kid has control over technology. It's a cool concept. Yeah. I would love to see that more fleshed out. But at the same time, you're dealing with a robot in the real world, and that can get very campy and shitty. It's very difficult to meld those two together.
I would be interested.
So I'm interested, but I'm definitely fearful. fucking goddamn Aquaman is the best thing ever. I want so much more of this. I am still afraid of what Atlantis, like, with him in that world. What it reminds me a lot of is Thor.
Right, it's like a world removed.
It's a world you don't have any connection to. You don't really understand it. They at least have the luck that it's part of Earth, so you can bring those two worlds together. But I'm definitely fearful of like a Thor 2 situation where they just spend the whole thing in like in Atlantis.
I think in the ideal world, the script for Aquaman, which is finished principal photography.
Yes. So we're talking about something that already exists. But
I think in the ideal world, they'll draw from like a story like Throne of Atlantis, where it's about the struggle for the throne between Arthur, who's not sure he wants it, and Orm, who desperately wants it but isn't rightfully his. And then how Atlantis fits now into against the surface world.
Exactly, because now they're kind of getting pushed back together again, and so like that obviously needs to happen, and especially because Arthur himself is very connected to Earth, so if he enters that world, he's going to bring it together. Regardless. He's very different from like Atlanteans. Like you see just the brief moments together and you're just like, this guy doesn't talk like them. He doesn't act like them.
He is the outsider.
He is very much so. So like seeing those two together could be really, really good. And I like the idea of it. You get sort of like almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing where a guy from Earth and like this really weird circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of really great things that have already been done in movies right now. And so it's very easy to see why this could be a great movie.
Yeah.
Batman, I feel like he's done. I don't need to see the more.
I mean, he may also like literally be done.
Exactly.
There's been some.
They're winking at it a bunch.
There's been some talk of that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Neither do I. I think I think he's done a great job as Batman.
There's a long list of in the DCEU. There's a list of one.
Yes,
but like, there's a Robin that can become Batman. You can have a Batman. I don't think it has to be Ben Affleck. I think there's lots of easy ways that he can easy that actor can be done. I mean, you could also just recast him. That's fine too.
I would fucking really want to see Batman Beyond, but I think like Ben is older.
Yeah.
Like you have the opportunity. I would love to see that. He keeps talking about how he can and can't do this anymore. Like,
I think they've set up enough the fact that he's like an older Batman that you can reasonably either write the character out entirely or replace him with like Dick Grayson Batman, or I guess if you wanted, you could skip Dick and go right to Terry McGinnis or something. But
I would love something like that because I don't know.
But either way, I think what would be interesting is seeing what Matt Reeves thinks that his Batman movie, like where he sees that going. Is his Batman movie about the transition, like about passing the mantle?
Exactly.
That would be a thing we haven't seen in a Batman movie.
That's a Batman story that hasn't been done, and one that I would really like, and I think one that Ben Affleck would be interested in, because it's not one that they've done before, and he's an actual fan, so I think it would be really interesting. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then Superman, I'm fucking done with Superman. I mean, Colin, I get it. Like, there is a place in my heart, and I actually really love Superman. There's very few Superman stories I really like. And it's like, but like one of my favorite like comic book TV shows of all time was Smallville. Like I loved Lois and Clark. Like I'm a Superman fan, but I'm so picky about the material. Like my favorite comic book forever was the Superman
this version of Superman, the like kind of hopeful.
I like the Superman. I don't like anything that they've done around him, though. I don't like the Superman movie. I think the scale was too big too quickly.
Man of Steel?
Yeah. It was too big of a scale, and it was too CGI, and I just it wasn't grounded enough for me.
Oh, really?
The whole thing about Superman is that he's somebody who's this alien with superpowers, and like it's such a big scale. The only way to make it like good to me is to ground it as much as possible. Put him in like that's why Thor, that first movie, was a lot of fun because they took away his powers. Like that's why like in the newest one, everyone loves it. They take away his fucking hammer. Like you give someone with that much power, you have to ground them, or it just becomes this big popcorn blow explosions fucking movie, and it's too much for me, and I can't. It's not grounded enough, and I just can't find myself in it.
Interesting.
So for me, I love him as Superman. I think like his acting is good. It's just the way that they've handled it.
Right.
So unless they go in a completely different direction.
Okay, but isn't this the completely different direction? What I'm trying to get at is you didn't watch Justice League and be like, finally.
No.
Okay.
I didn't because you got so little of him.
Sure. Okay.
The little bit that I did get, I enjoyed, but like,
that doesn't make you think like, oh, great, like now moving forward. That's
I don't think they're going to do it.
Superman
I think this is the best this is the most of that we got. Now they're going to go back to fucking Superman.
Oh, I don't think. I think the whole point of the death and resurrection is
he's going to have this new perspective on life, and but
that we've.
He's just going to calm down.
No, and I don't.
As he kind of came into a world that was like, fuck, aliens exist, and then we're super cynical about him. But now he's got this new lease on life. Like, I think that's the DCEU's way of getting us to that.
Or is that them finishing him?
He's got one more He's got one more movie on his contract.
Okay, because now is it going to now? Does that count as a Justice League movie, or does that
could be anything?
And that's
Man of Steel 2 could be a Justice League. Could be. Sorry.
He's got opinions. It's okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's
talk about. I could talk all night.
I like where you're coming from with needing characters to be grounded. I think that it's very important to in like a quote unquote world where you have elements of humanity and you have elements of superheroes. All this shit I'm fucking learning about apparently. It's hard.
You seem so excited.
Yeah, fuck off. It's hard to. It was hard to be on like the side of the good guy when it was just such a blowout at the end.
Okay, so you don't like.
I'm really butthurt about Superman just coming in and with like one foul swoop just clean.
I want to show you Superman for all seasons so bad. Right. Because that is the Superman that I want so much. Right. He needs to fight shit, and I get it. But like, that's the super grounded Superman that I fell in love with when I really fell in love with Superman. We'll get you there.
I'm here.
I just want to hold you. Just
the tip.
Touch a little bit.
Jesus. Yeah. No. I mean, like I think that's a fair criticism. I mean,
I found the rest of the movie to be very much like if the Justice League it's a team. Superman is...
So your point is that Superman is so powerful, why
like,
have the team?
He's like Wayne Gretzky playing with a bunch of kids on the street.
Right, okay.
Which is just kind of like, yeah, of course he's going to rocket top shelf every time. Like, he's Superman.
But, okay, I mean, like, I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
But there is, I think...
In this situation, yeah.
I think there is an element of...
your existence on it.
You do see like why you need the team, because, for example, like I said, Superman is winning the fight, but then as soon as the civilians are in danger,
I get it. We've covered all.
We're so far into this at this point.
Cyborg's the only one that can like actually interface with the thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think there is stuff in there about why the team is necessary, but I do kind of take your point.
I think we tackled it.
Oh yeah,
we're very far into this episode. Let's get to the questions.
Okay. Did you think we were only talking about Justice League?
Oh, that's right, folks. We're not.
Oh yeah, we have questions.
We do have questions.
Our theme this week is team ups.
Team ups. That's right.
Because given Justice League, why not?
I mean, we went very in depth. There's a lot more we could talk about in Justice League.
God, we could do a whole.
Shut up. We got questions on Facebook. Let's do it.
I was getting there.
Oh, okay. I have the questions.
Jesus, fine, just go.
Fine.
God,
he's got the questions too.
Adam Upper, Team Upper.
Oh, Upper. I barely know her.
Shut up.
I think I've actually made that joke before.
Absolutely.
Are we getting hangry or what's going on over here?
I am a little hangry, to be honest.
So who is your favorite? Who is your favorite weird team up? Mine is Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Also, do you think we'll get continued Batman / the Shadow team up books?
I love also the comment that was on this post where it was just like really like it was actually from his friend who was just
Archie and the dinosaurs or something.
No, it was Archie and the Predator. He was just like, that's the weirdest one you could come up with. What about this? And it was Archie and Predator.
Yeah, so they do these like intercompany team ups every once in a while. There's been Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's been like Batman Predator. There's been like
there's lots of Archie stuff all the time.
Oh yeah, like
I feel like I know somebody who really likes.
It's not
Archie.
just DC that does them. There's lots of these. I've got two answers for what my favorite one is. I really like the Green Lantern Star Trek crossover. I find that really interesting. A bunch of characters from the Star Trek universe get like different lantern rings and things like that. And, you know, they're both these kind of like sprawling space stories. I think there's like a lot of interesting crossover, and especially because Roddenberry's Star Trek is all about these sort of like archetypal types of people, the adventurer and like the scientist and things like that. And I think that fits very nicely with like the idea of the emotional spectrum, that there are just these like very base kind of foundational emotions. So I think there's something really neat about how Green Lantern and Star Trek tie together. And then the other one that I love is Batman 66, like the Adam West one, Meets the Green Hornet. It was a 6-issue series. The art was done by
Like
Alex
the,
Ross.
The Green Hornet, like the movie that was done recently with, was that Seth Rogen?
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't go by that. There's the old TV show from the 60s,
Okay.
that where Bruce Lee played Kato.
Oh wow.
But basically, in this comic book, which is the art's by Alex Ross, so it looks like an oil painting. It looks very realistic, and yeah, they cross these two classic TV shows over in their style. That's a hilarious one. Yeah, I don't think there's too much more to that one.
Can I say my favorite?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
My favorite is the Jerry Lewis comics, where Jerry Lewis and Batman. That is the best. I mean, you definitely win for weirdest.
Jerry Lewis and Clark Kent, it would be who has the best Jerry curl.
Well, it would have to be Jerry Lewis, because he has the Jerry curl, and Clark's got a Clark curl.
Apparently, Superman's the best at everything. So,
wow, you've got a real like chip on your shoulder about that. Yeah, no. So I will be honest, I've never read the Jerry Lewis one.
Oh my god, there's two. There's Superman and a Batman one where Jerry Lewis. It's like a Jerry Lewis comic book.
I've never read
It's so good.
It sounds weird.
I think the weirdest general comic book crossover, though, is a Marvel one where the cast of Guiding Light has Marvel heroes enter. It's the best, but that's a different podcast.
Yeah, God, I've really got to branch out.
I know. There's a lot of weird fucking crossovers. Or Superman and the Nesquik bunny.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. On that note, there is one that I find funny, even though it's like total like corporate like ad stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the Green Lantern Colonel Sanders crossover. Yeah. I think he makes like the Colonel Corps or something like that.
My God.
Yeah. I mean, it's like total like
Colonel, you can make more than just buckets of chicken. It's called advertising.
That's all he does with the ring.
Yeah.
It's all I can think of.
Yeah. Hold on.
So
no,
that's hungry.
That's just popcorn chicken.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
You might have 7 colors of ring, but I have 11 herbs and spices.
Oh. All right.
Josh Gill.
Old Gilly.
Nailed it.
Oh, Gil.
G-Money.
No.
Man, okay, let's talk a bit about Josh Gill for a second.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the post that we threw up, Josh Gill made this like great like resource list of links to news articles
that we talk about on the episode,
and to the characters and storylines that we talked about on our last episode. I've added it to our website, to the page from issue number 23.
So if you guys want to actually like not only just read what the comics are, but actually like go to the wikis for them
and do some of your own research and learn a little bit more. Josh,
tell us how wrong we are.
Josh, on his own time, went and like made this great resource list. So thank you so much, Josh. It's awesome. I love that.
Thank you for doing that. Now you can see your wife and family again.
Yeah, that's right. We release you.
Yeah, unless you want to do it every week, because I'm okay with it.
So Josh Gill says
Then I'm taking your family back.
be nice to him. He helps us.
Coming from fucking K-Cross 202 hater.
Is that motherfucker on this shit again?
Of course he is.
Come on.
Okay, so Josh Gill asks, other than the recent limited series Batman Europa, how many times have Batman and the Joker teamed up? What's been your favorite Justice League roster in comics, animation, video games, TV, movies? And what is your dream JL roster?
Right. A few different questions. So the first one, Batman Europa was a series that I'm not even 100% sure that it... Oh, no, it suffered all these crazy delays in that. But basically, in the series, Batman gets poisoned with this very slow-acting poison. He has to go to Europe on this sort of detective hunt to cure himself.
Europe? I was really hoping he had to go to the moon.
Oh, yeah, Europa.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. But he has to, find a way to cure himself. And the Joker teams up with him because the Joker doesn't want Batman to die. Because
he's not the Joker with Batman doesn't exist?
Exactly. So he's kind of fighting his Joker urges a little bit, but basically he just wants to kill the guy that tried to take out Batman, and they're weirdly teamed up there.
Can they please do a fan fiction like Batman Joker gay love story? It needs to happen.
You think it hasn't?
Okay. Well, they need to make it an actual DC story then, even if it's just a one-off.
DC execs.
You're always listening.
A one-off. They're just trying it out.
Okay, you know what? It's Batman and Joker. They both get off. But this needs to exist. Those two men are in love.
They are, but not romantic love.
Why?
Okay. I mean, I guess.
Wait. Why are you?
Both of them treat women terribly and don't really have real relationships, but pretend
they're in romantic love because they're both horrible to other people.
No, because they clearly don't like the women that they're ever with. They clearly these
two are the Mick Jagger and David.
This is a Brokeback Mountain story waiting to happen.
I'm going to bring this back to what the question is, but I just want to say I feel like the logic's flawed.
I can't quit you.
Jesus Christ. So, are there any other stories in which Batman and the Joker team up? The short answer is yes. I'm not going to remember.
Just not close enough.
I'm not going to remember the precise issue, but there's one. I think it's an issue, The Brave and the Bold, where the Penguin is killed by the Joker, but then the Joker comes to Batman and says, it was not me, and whoever killed the Penguin, I want to kill him. You need to help me find him. And it turns out, through the course of this story, that
the Joker was just kidding, and he did kill Penguin.
No, it's the Penguin had hired the fake or whatever to set up the Joker. It's one of those kind of things. But for that one, they do team up a little bit. There's, I think it's in Batman Volume 2, issue number 1, which is the New 52. There's a scene in Arkham Asylum where Batman is fighting all of the inmates, and he's fighting alongside the Joker, which is very weird. But then you see it's actually Dick Grayson who has been undercover as the Joker in Arkham. So that's a bit of a fake out. But for those panels, until you see that reveal, it's basically Batman and the Joker teaming up. What was the next part of this question? Was it my favorite Justice League roster?
No,
what is your dream jail roster?
Well, that's one of them, but wasn't there also a...
what's been your favorite Justice League roster in comic, animation, video games, TV, movie,
right?
Whatever.
My favorite Justice League roster
is the one we saw last night.
I mean, it's close. I like Green Lantern, so it's nice when there's a Green Lantern.
But there was somebody missing who I know you love.
Martian Manhunter.
Goddamn right.
I was going to say my favorite roster is the original. It's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter.
Fucking that's the next movie. That's right.
What I will say though is I have a ton of love for the Justice League cartoon lineup.
My wife loves that.
They sub out Aquaman, who is my favorite, but they sub him out with Hawkgirl, and it's awesome. And that's a Wally West Flash and a Jon Stewart Green Lantern. That's another favorite roster. What my dream Justice League roster is...
Us, the three of us.
Sure.
Duh.
I feel like I know who you're missing.
No Super Todd.
You need Super Todd.
Can we at least get coffees if you're going to be part of the team?
I am busy collating. I am.
There's nothing to collate. We're like the team just formed.
Oh, you just think you just get to do all of this super stuff, and there is there's no paperwork that follows.
I don't know how we're supposed to.
You know
do
the amount of
any super stuff without the
destruction that
coffee.
comes along, the amount of destruction that needs to have
long I've been
paperwork that's
awake?
filed.
I've been going through. I've been like,
You know
trying
what?
to
You're
find
clearly irritable. You should be on decaf anyways. That's what I keep telling you. But nobody listens to Todd.
DC execs. Hit us up.
Super Todd.
I think
We will sell you Super Todd just to get him out of the studio.
I think
Super Todd selling like hotcakes.
I think frankly my dream roster of the Justice League might be it's a slightly expanded roster, but I think it's the one that you end up with around the era of like Identity Crisis, where you've got like Green Arrow and Black Canary are on the team. You maybe have Red Tornado in there. It's where the league has expanded beyond the original like 7 members. I like when the league's got about like 20 members and they're like the heavy hitters. You got Hawkman in there too and things like that. I like Zatanna, I like that kind of version of the league. And some of those characters actually were brought up by the cast of Justice League when they were asked, like, who would you want to join the league for, like, a sequel? I think actually Ray Fisher, the guy who plays Cyborg, was like, Zatanna. Like, get Magic in there.
Fuck yeah.
Which would be awesome.
Though I think that might be a little too much. But, I mean, they have fucking Parademons, so.
Yeah, you never know.
All bets are off.
So I think some version of kind of that era Justice League is probably my dream roster.
Cool.
No doubt.
Cool.
For sure.
Cool.
So we're going to head over to Twitter.
Woo!
Paul Schultz says,
Schultzy.
"Hey, Dr. DC, this seems like an unlikely
Papa
team
Schultz.
up. Batman, Brave and the Bold, and Scooby-Doo Gang. What other unlikely teams or groups came together to fight crime or maybe create it?"
Yeah, so...
Similar to that first question, but...
The thing that he's referring to is... So Batman the Brave and the Bold was a cartoon done in the very like campy 60s style.
It was awesome.
And it was incredible. But basically there's an animated movie coming out where he teams up with Mystery
Really?
Inc. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So the Scooby Gang and Batman from the Brave and the Bold... and some of the extended DC cast of characters from that, like Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Question, like things like that are all in it too. And that, I watched the trailer for it and like maybe wrote the news piece on DC Comics News about it. I did. Article? So it looks like a ton of fun.
we all got out of our systems, I'm glad.
What's another like really wacky team up? I mean,
We kind of spoke to a few of these, but...
Is it specifically a wacky Batman team up? Can you just remind me in the question? Or is it just like team ups of characters?
It just says, what other unlikely teams
Sure.
Or groups come together to fight crime.
I think
or maybe create crime.
I think a great unlikely team is the Shadow Pact. It happened in the lead up to Infinite Crisis.
Shadow Pact!
It's a bunch of basically like B to D list heroes in the magical realm who come together to fight an out of control Spectre. So the Spectre is like crazy powerful, and all of these sort of like nobodies are the ones that basically have the stones to go in and fight him. And it's Nightmaster, who's got like, he's like in chainmail and got like a mystical sword. Detective Chimp, Enchantress, Blue Devil, Nightshade, Black Alice, I'm missing someone, I think. But at any rate, like basically the magical heavy hitters have been taken out, like Phantom Stranger and Dr. Fate. They can't fight.
Dr. Fate.
Yeah, they can't fight this threat. So it comes down to these like weird B and C listers who don't even like each other. But the Shadow Pact, like they win the day. And then they had their own series for a long time where they would fight like magical threats. I like them. They're a total underdog team. They're like the good version of the Suicide Squad. They're like quote unquote throwaway characters who shouldn't work well together, who don't work well together, but ultimately like accomplish what they need to. I think that's probably my favorite.
I'm going to jump in and say that maybe not unlikely, and I know that you'll rag on me because they're such a ragtag
Oh, Ragman is part of the Shadow Pact.
Is he as well?
Sorry, that's the one I forgot. How did I Chad, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ragman is like one of the key ones. Yeah.
Well, that wasn't Chad. That was Paul.
No, I know, but Chad is always listening.
Oh, that's true. Who's that?
Who does it look like?
So are we going to cut this bit out?
Who is that?
That's my buddy from France.
Who looks just like him. It's weird.
I would love to see. I know it sounds kind of weird, but like Aquaman and Ragman as like a part of a team.
Oh, okay. And like, what's the thinking? Like, why? What do you think would bring those two together?
I don't know.
Sure.
But I really enjoy like, and not just like the two of them, but I mean like, man, it would be so cool to see Ragman in something aside from like a throwaway type thing.
And sorry, do you mean like film version Aquaman or like?
Yeah, well, duh, because I want to play Ragman.
Whoa. DC execs.
This is the pitch.
I'm like, I've never
calling for Rory Regan.
I've never been to the gym before, but I would hit up the gym with Jason.
You're gonna Chris Pratt yourself
for until everyone was satisfied, and then I would be Ragman.
That's very interesting. All right,
I'm throwing my proverbial hat into the ring. I want to be.
So what the reality is you just want to get as close to Jason Momoa as possible.
No, I just want Ragman to be as mainstream as possible because I feel like he's a really after like. So I read the other one that you sent,
like the most recent one.
Yeah, and the first one that you gave me, and I've like done a little bit of looking on the internet at the Ragman stuff, and I just feel like the depth and the brevity of his character and everything around it is so much more interesting than a lot of the mainstream characters.
Maybe I'll give you some of this Shadow Pact stuff because it'd give you a taste of Ragman in the team environment, and I think you'd like it. It's pretty interesting.
I just feel like I'd be really good at being Ragman.
That's awesome.
Do you fucking hear this, Chad?
It's happening.
Oh my god.
Dreams do come true.
They don't ever happen to you. Talking Superman asks, in your opinion, what has been the most devastating villain team up?
I mean, there's so many like villain teams. There's like the Secret Society of Supervillains, and some of them are involved in these like cosmic scale events. Like the Secret Society was big in both Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis. Then you have like other villain team ups, like the Fatal Five are always the nemesis, I guess, of the Legion of Superheroes.
Nemesis.
You get the Injustice Gang, the Injustice League.
Namaste.
You get the Fearsome Five, who are like Teen Titans villains. But I think, and I've brought this storyline up a ton, but I think the most devastating, at least in the short term, well, no, even in the long term, villain team up is Mongol and the Cyborg Superman, who, during Reign of the Supermen, they're the ones that destroy Coast City, and that's that whole thing that sets Hal Jordan on his path to supervillainy. And that happens so quickly. I think what's so devastating about it is these two characters like get together, and it doesn't take very long before that event, that tragedy happens. I don't know that it ever fully lived up to its potential, but that sort of came back again during the Sinestro Corps War, where it was like Cyborg Superman, Superboy Prime, who's like one of the most powerful characters in DC, the Anti-Monitor, another one of the most powerful characters, and like Mongol and a bunch of other things joined the Sinestro Corps. I feel like a bunch of them got dealt with like too easily. Like it didn't, that could have been a team to literally like tear reality apart. And it didn't really go that way. But in that moment where you see them all together and they join the Corps and they're like all on the same side, that gave me chills because there's like a lot of potential danger and damage in there. So if I ever saw them kind of teamed up again, that would also worry me. Yeah, so I guess in both cases it involves the Cyborg Superman, which is interesting because he's not someone that I consider to be like the most dangerous villain usually, but I think his stories tend to go like that really kind of scary place really easily. He's a character that is pretty unhinged. Yeah.
Cool.
No doubt.
Chad Bokelman.
Bogle.
Who makes the better team? Green Lantern and Flash or Green Lantern and Green Arrow? Explain your choice and support with examples. What is this, like a grade 10?
You can't tell me what to do.
I expect it on my desk tomorrow afternoon.
My book report. Right. So, a couple of like iconic Green Lantern friendships. One is with Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow. I'm specifically talking about Hal Jordan there. And the other is with the Flash. So Hal Jordan and Barry Allen are very good friends. So are Hal and Ollie. But I think Hal and Ollie's relationship is much more fraught. There's their whole series where they were together and they were sort of road tripping across the USA. It was about Green Arrow showing Green Lantern that while he's off, like, deflecting asteroids, there are like real people's lives falling apart on the ground. That whole series was about like, what does street level justice look like in a world full of these like cosmically powered superheroes? Which is, it made the series amazing. It was really, really cool, really sort of ahead of its time writing. But that was part of like the tension between them, that like Hal was very like cocksure, would just fly off and be like, this is the bad guy, and like try and stop. In their first outing together, which is Green Lantern, Green Arrow, number, help me out, I don't remember it offhand, like 74 or something like that. Green Lantern like thinks he's like found the bad guy that's like evicting people from this like tenement, and he like locks him up, and then like he realizes like this guy is technically not doing anything wrong, like he legally owns the building, he can do what he wants, like, is it right? No, blah, blah, blah. They go into all of these like gray areas, and Green Arrow is trying to show him that like it's not black and white, it's a much more difficult world that he is in. So I think that tension actually like goes through their relationship, and then when Hal becomes Parallax and goes evil, that is obviously a strain on their relationship. There's a whole thing in 0 Hour with, Green Arrow facing off against him. He puts like an arrow in his chest. Like their friendship has kind of gone in and out over the years. Hal brings Ollie's soul back. He's partly responsible, or mostly responsible, for Green Arrow's resurrection. But I think the friendship that never faltered is Hal and Barry. Through the villainy, Barry died before Hal became a supervillain. And then when they both came back in their respective rebirths, they found sort of solace in each other. There's some lovely scenes in Blackest Night where they're talking about like what it was like to come back from the dead, or to like atone for things missed, or to make up for lost time, or to fix mistakes. And there's some really lovely stuff. I'm tempted to say their friendship, Hal and Barry, is the stronger friendship than Hal and Ollie. And I think recent comics and the way those like interactions go support that. But I'd like to just throw out another great Green Lantern Flash friendship. And that's Alan Scott and Jay Garrick, the Golden Age versions of both heroes. They were both charter members of the Justice Society of America. And
love Jay Garrick.
They're the original Scarlet Speedster and Emerald Knight. So I like their relationship because you also see them like older as well, and dealing with just having lived a life, and then also being a superhero, being mentors, and having families, and those sorts of things. I kind of like. You definitely don't
stuff
see
that
it as
millennials
much.
just don't understand.
Well, you don't see their relationship as much because they're like less popular characters now. But I think they're an interesting one. You're getting basically a glimpse of like a bromance in its 60s, and I kind of love that. So
are they at all like my two favorite bromancers, the Grumpy Old Men?
Yeah, just like Walter Matthau.
Just like.
Exactly, Walter Matthau for Alan Scott. He's alive, right? DC execs, bring him back. Use that mother box.
So was that in APA format, or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's citation required.
You linked your sources? No, wait. No, Josh Gill's going to do that.
honorable mention to Wally West and Kyle Rayner as Flash and Green Lantern, and they occupied those spaces during the JLA era of the Justice League. But I'll be perfectly honest, it's Hal and Barry for me. That's the one.
Yeah. It was Justice League of Alaska?
No, it's Justice League of America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dave Rossi says, with the exception of Brave and the Bold, one of the only Silver Age comics that teamed characters was Adam and Hawkman, which was awesome. Who's your dream team of two characters that you'd love to see paired in an ongoing series? I will say that I've said mine already, Ragman and Aquaman.
Yeah.
Richard, who's yours?
Oh, who's my dream team of two characters that I'd love to see paired
and
up?
It can't be you and I, because we already have the dream team.
Oh, we're quite a pair, though, aren't we?
Yep.
So, do these have to be DC characters?
Well, I think given the context of the podcast.
My mom and my dad?
I think that they're super, in my opinion. They're so great. I would love to see Jon Stewart.
Okay.
And Martian Manhunter on a space story.
There's a very interesting Jon Stewart Martian Manhunter space story.
Say what?
And it goes poorly. They're on this mission, and Jon Stewart is very arrogant and believes that he can save the day, and basically tells the Martian Manhunter like buzz up, I got this, and flies in.
He says Buzz Aldrin because it's in space.
Yeah, I get it.
He flies in to save the day, and what he encounters is this world-destroying bomb, like seconds away from going off, and it's yellow, and he can't stop it because that's the weakness of a Green Lantern.
What?
It's the color yellow.
My dog did not like that.
His arrogance destroys this planet, and Martian Manhunter curses him out and says you did this. They have that story is basically them not working well together. It's a very interesting story, and that the destruction of Xanshi, that planet, haunts Jon Stewart for quite a long time.
But he gets over it.
So it's interesting that you selected those two because there's a really compelling story with them.
Well, since it's already been done, my number 2 would be still Green Lantern with Gnort as a buddy cop thing.
Yes, like Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart.
Hal Jordan. And Gnort as a buddy cop thing where it's just Gnort.
I mean, sure.
Space cops. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
I'm into this.
Right?
I'm so into that.
I'm so into it.
Dave mentioned Brave and the Bold. That was a series that was specifically Batman team-ups. Each issue was Batman and someone. There actually was a different book. I have a bunch of issues of it, including the first one.
Yeah, you do have a bunch of issues, don't you?
Yeah.
Pages and pages of issues. Yeah.
It's called DC Comics Presents, and that was Superman team-ups. And the very first one is Superman and Flash, and I'm lucky to have that as part of my collection. But if I had to pick two random characters to put together, that's so hard. It's so hard. What do I do?
What kind of story would you want to see? And that'll lead you to your characters.
You're so wise. You're so wise. I'd be very interested in seeing, it would be Hawkman. I know that was part of the Adam and Hawkman thing, but I think it would be Hawkman and Superman. And the reason that I say that is
interesting.
Just two bros flying around.
Hawkman has, depending on the continuity, has a possible alien connection. Whether or not you...
Because that what they did in the New 52?
Yeah, whether or not you fully go that he's Thanagarian or not, I don't think you have to, because there's enough of a connection even to the Carter Hall version of Hawkman.
Mm-hmm.
But I would be interested in seeing how these sort of two... They're kind of two characters that are alone on their journeys, relatively. Superman is a guy with all of the strength, but a very kind heart. Hawkman is a guy with lots of strength, but not as much as Superman. But he's not as kind. That Carter Hall version, especially through things like Identity Crisis, Blackest Night, Brightest Day, stuff like that, he's a brute. So it'd be interesting to see them forced together could involve Thanagar or whatever, but and see how they would play off of each other. I would be very interested in that, I think. And then honorable mention goes to one that already happened, which is Black Lightning, Blue Devil. It's like a 4-issue series.
Black Lightning
In DC
Blue
Universe
Devil.
Presents. Yeah, Black Lightning.
Thank you.
And those
Stop hitting that.
Don't forget the Blue Devil, bro.
Those two together were it was actually a really interesting story because you're combining like street level crime fighting with like demons. It was kind of neat.
Awesome. We can skip that next question because we already addressed it.
Cool. Ugh, we gotta go to Instagram.
Instagram to our one Instagram question giver.
K-Cross 202.
Kick-Ass 202 for life. For life.
With a Y.
Yeah. And with a number 4.
Of course.
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, why?
Can I tell this joke, actually? Because he writes a joke first.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, doctor. What does Cyborg call his dad?
I don't know.
Data?
That's dumb.
You know what? K-Cross 202, I appreciate it.
How like dense I am. I didn't get that joke until you pronounced it that way because I was pronouncing it data, and I was like, I don't get.
You're like,
this.
well, I don't see where how Star Trek could even go across with DC. That that doesn't even happen.
Only Green Lantern and Star Trek have crossed.
Yeah, that's actually never. Cyborg's never been a
I
part of
don't
that.
know who I think I'm making fun of because I'm the guy pushing his glasses up his nose and explaining things. But
Oh, I see who you're making fun of. Oh, I get it. Everybody tries to make fun of Todd.
Jesus, Todd.
Todd, literally no one was talking to you.
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't matter. Nobody talks to Todd. Todd's going to speak up because I went through some courses online and then I went out to, hold on. I went to the convention center and there was this wonderful man who had this great talk about how I had to have more self-esteem and I had to, you know.
Todd,
And,
I looked through your education background. It's a University of Phoenix online. Is that where you went to school?
yeah, I don't see the problem with that.
The problem is that it clearly hasn't prepared you for the workforce because not only do we still not have copies, but I noticed that the papers you were quote unquote collating you just like lined the floor with them like we're gerbils or something. Like
Well-
I don't know if you think we're like not capable of using the washroom or something, but like none of this is useful.
Okay.
It is
okay.
everywhere.
When
It's
you are
goddamn messy.
looking for the laws and legislation for Earth 52, and you're just like, oh, there it is on the ground right there. I can see it with my
I mean,
eyes.
if they were in order or something, I'd maybe understand that.
Oh,
But like,
now you want it in order.
this like my subway order is here and it's right next to the map of the multiverse. Like I don't see
how that doesn't completely connect to each other.
Is that my receipt from when I got groceries 3 weeks ago?
See, exactly. Now you know where it is.
Yeah.
Why did I need? I threw that in the garbage.
Do you know what? Todd,
Oh, I see.
We're-
So Todd leaves a hat in the ground. Suddenly, it's a garbage.
yeah. Todd, I think we're gonna have to let you go.
You'll rue the day. You'll rue the day. This is how villains start.
Yeah,
I think someone from the Justice League would understand that.
Okay.
So do you want to just let him accidentally lock himself in the closet again? Or
I mean, I think he's relatively a non-threat. So let's just finish up these questions.
Is that where I am? It's dark in here and small.
K-Cross 202, thank you for that hilarious joke.
Hey guys, sorry, I just got back. What the fuck just happened?
Please never leave the room again.
Oh okay. Weird.
So jokes aside, how did the Titans become a team is the question.
Yeah. So in Brave and the Bold number, I think it's 54.
They started as teens.
Yeah. In Brave and the Bold 54.
They started as toddlers.
Yes, that's right.
Toddler Titans.
The Brave and the Bold.
No? Sorry. Go on.
Edit point. I saw it coming. I saw it.
Yeah, you beat me too.
Yeah, I cut your fucking legs out. That's what I
So
did.
in Brave and the Bold 54, that's widely like considered the first appearance of the Teen Titans, but they're never called that in the issue. But basically, Robin and Kid Flash and Aqualad basically just team up to respond to a distress signal in this town. They fight a character called Mr. Twister. And at the end of the issue, they decide that they're going to keep teaming up. They think they were like, we did good work here today. I think we could be a super team. Like this is our chance to prove our worth sort of thing. And then the next time they show up is later in Brave and the Bold. And that's when they meet, Donna Troy, Wonder Girl, and she joins the team. And then, Speedy, Roy Harper, Green Arrow's sidekick, also joins the team. Now, this is the original, like, Silver Age, or I guess Silver Age version of their origin story. So yeah, the team ends up being Robin, Kid Flash, Aqualad, Speedy, and Wonder Girl, like the 5 kind of main sidekicks. Superboy eventually in like post-Crisis, where there is a Superboy that isn't just young Superman. It's like a different character. Superboy is part of the team, and eventually the Teen Titans morph into this place where all of these young heroes go, and it's kind of like their proving ground. Beast Boy, Raven, Starfire, Miss Martian, like all sorts of multiple versions of Kid Flashes or Wonder Girls, and that have all gone through the Teen Titans. But if you're going with that Silver Age origin, it involves Mr. Twister. And then, even though the New 52 kind of changed what that origin was, that Titans Hunt series that we talked about last issue, it sort of reintroduced the idea that maybe their original team up that they had kind of forgotten, that had been like erased from existence, was that thing with Mr. Twister again. Like, they sort of brought Mr.
Awesome.
Twister back in to sort of reinsert that history. So I think it's fair to say some version of that original
Mr.
encounter
Twister
is like the canonical start of the Teen Titans now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a quite little packaged story there. Sometimes it doesn't take an hour.
Well, I mean, you know, sometimes, yeah. I mean, that question is literally like, how did they start?
Yeah.
That's it.
Let's over-explain it so then we can really make it long.
Yeah. 4 more hours.
We're heading close to 2.5, I think so.
Wow.
So we got an email from Jimmy Olsen.
Oh my god, Jimmy, what are you doing? Don't you have, like, photos you need to take? Perry White's been calling.
He got shot in the face in Batman v Superman. How are you doing this?
He's recovering. Give him a minute.
How are you doing this?
I'm very impressed.
Okay,
It was a superficial bullet wound. He's going to be okay.
yeah, it's only a flesh wound. All right, what was
Merely a flesh wound.
Jimmy Olsen
What's
says,
Jimmy's question?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
How to fill a hole in face?
Oh, that would be really funny. That's a missed opportunity. Sorry, Jimmy, but like maybe
next time.
If you get the,
Jimmy Olsen says, going to keep the question simple, but it might not be easy. Like,
how to fill a hole in face.
Yeah.
What is your favorite super team? Could be heroes, villains, any era, etc. I feel like we've kind of done that.
Sort of. I think it's a little bit different because it's not unique teams. It's just your favorite teams in general.
Just the favorite one. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be weird. I think my
Aren't those the best ones though? The weird ones?
I'll say my favorite obviously is the Justice League. Like, that's the one. But ones that I get like lots of like sort of joy out of, that I don't necessarily read all the time, but I'd pick up if they got a new series or something like that. Legion of Superheroes is always up there. I love that sort of weird 30th century world that kind of maintains like the 60s like aesthetic, like the idea that they're all like, he's like Lightning Lad and like Cosmic Boy, Matter Eater Lad, and like they have these ridiculous names and things like that. I love the Legion of Superheroes. I think that's a really fun team. I find the Secret Society of Supervillains to be very interesting because there's no set roster and they never fully trust each other. They work together and they're dangerous when they do because they're not working at cross purposes. But when you're reading stories with the Secret Society, it's all like it's very like Game of Thrones or like House of Cardsy in that they all have like other agendas. Like, fine, the plan is take out Justice League, or the plan is like destroy Bloodhaven or whatever. But behind that, it's like, who's really in charge and like who's going to betray whom and when. And like, it's moving the chess pieces into place, especially with characters like Deathstroke and Lex Luthor and stuff like that, which is my seamless way of capping this off by going to the post-credit scenes of Justice League, of the film. The first post-credit scene is like a delightful, like Flash and Superman race, which is like pure Silver Age comics. But the second one, at the end of all the credits, you see, in Arkham Asylum, this guard is like, Luthor, like, come out of your cell or whatever, and you realize it's not Luthor. It's like a decoy. kind of brought outside, and on this like fancy boat, someone pulls up with a mask and swords and gets on this big yacht, and Luthor is there, bald in like a proper suit, not just like the t-shirt and blazer from Batman versus Superman. And it's Deathstroke. Luthor is kind of trying to bring Deathstroke into the fold. They have a bit of a back and forth. Deathstroke says like, don't waste my time. And Luthor says, they're all building some kind of league. Is it a time we have a league of our own? Which is a weird movie reference, but it's a reference to the Injustice League, which are
I really want Tom Hanks to be in the Injustice League.
There's no crying in Metropolis. Yeah, so
just shit-faced the whole time also.
So I mean, you Richard earlier had said that you hoped Darkseid would show up in like Justice League 2.
Fuck yeah.
I want the Injustice League. I want to see.
There's been people have been talking about that.
I want to see Luthor, Deathstroke, Grodd, like Cheetah, like I you could bring in whatever Aquaman villain, probably Manta, but Ocean Master could be interesting too. I would love to see that team up. So we'll end that by saying the Injustice League / Secret Society are maybe the version. They're a team I find very interesting because you never know actually what's going to come out of.
You never know what you're going to get.
Oh, the wrong Tom Hanks movie. But yeah, I think that's everything. This was a marathon. So if you do want to hit us up on those various platforms, they are...
You can check us out on Facebook at
Dr. DC Podcast.
On Twitter at
Dr. DC.
Our email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
On Instagram like KCross202.
Dr. DC Podcast.
Or at our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
Make sure you go to iTunes and rate, review, and subscribe to us. That helps us a lot.
Yeah.
We're constantly... I'm seeing that we're getting new people every day because people are going back and listening to old episodes, and those numbers are going up, so it's great. But let us know what you think about it. If you're liking the podcast, give us a little review, some 5 stars on iTunes. You can even leave a What Colin Does, because I'm getting exhausted trying to come up with one every week. So
this was a great one.
I was pretty proud of this one, but I could definitely use your guys' help. Some more creative, maybe more comic book focused What Colin Does, because I definitely like when we got those. So
yeah.
Especially that Green Lantern Corp one, that was really fun.
I did like Colin doing the oath.
Maybe we could get a Chad Bokelman Ragman intro of some sort.
Ooh.
And he's probably already left a review, but if he hasn't, then
with sources.
Yes, of course, APA format only.
And if you guys want to help me get the role of Ragman, make sure you tweet #Colin for Ragman.
Yes,
Rag Colin.
#Colin for Ragman. I like that.
Yeah.
Colin #4 Ragman.
Yeah.
Let's get that going.
I appreciate it.
Right. Well, if you haven't seen Justice League, I hope you didn't listen to this episode because we probably spoiled it. But
unless you're like me and you don't really care, and you'll do both.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. All right.
Well, some kind of sign off.
Adios.
You'll rue the day.
Damn it, Todd.
Aquaman, all the superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure.